Colts 21-13. Minnesota's 6-2. So are the Eagles, who beat the Jaguars 28-23. Chargers down the Browns in Cleveland 27-10. Cardinals handle the Bears 29-9. Bengals roll over the Raiders 41-24. Titans in overtime get by the Patriots 20-17, while the Panthers edge the Saints 23-22. I'm Eddie Garcia.
You get a lot of junk in your inbox. This one, not junk at all. 1620 the email. Exclusive content, contests, other stuff probably. Subscribe today at 1620thezone.com. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7.
Overcast skies with steady temperatures for your Monday, with showers this morning, increasing chance for showers again this afternoon and tonight. High today of 59 degrees, breezy with southerly winds shifting out of the north this afternoon up to 20 miles an hour. I'm meteorologist Caitlin Harvey with KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center, heads up, there's an accident on JFK northbound off-ramp to I-80, causing the left lane to be blocked, so be safe around that area. In other parts of the metro, it seems to be pretty clear, but it looks to be slow on 36 and L, as well as on 204th from Q Street to Harrison going southbound. Make sure to keep your seatbelts buckled and eyes on the road. I'm Jake Janisek.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Lanahaw Nurseries.
Shop Lanahaw's Garden Center and save. Enjoy 30% off deciduous, evergreen, and fruit potted trees. Over 30 varieties of roses are on sale too. We're your homegrown headquarters since 1974. Lanahaw Garden Center, 192nd and Center.
Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is always looking to make your game day bigger and better. Cheer on your favorite team this season in front of a 22-foot LED video wall showing up to 8 games at once. TVs are everywhere else you can look with a state-of-the-art audio and video system. Enjoy a big old pizza or award-winning char-buffed wings. There's just no better way to do your game day. Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road, and for takeout at 162nd and Maple.
Velocity Clinical Research in Omaha conducts clinical trials for investigational treatments and research. Typical studies involve medications for high cholesterol, diabetes, infectious diseases, and acne. Some current studies include low T, RSV, fall influenza, pediatric obesity ages 12 to 17, adult obesity, and asthma. Velocity also performs vaccine studies. Studies are medically supervised and do not require insurance. Velocity recognizes your time is valuable, so they offer compensation for study-related time and travel. Find out more at velocityclinicaltrials.com.
42 Degrees grand opening. 50th and Center in Omaha and 71st and O in Lincoln. You'll get these grand opening once-in-a-lifetime deals. Kratom, $5. OPMS shots, buy one, get one free. Wacky and non-wacky disposables, only $5. CBD, $4. All glass, at least half off and up to 90% off. Candles starting at $6. Select juice, buy one, get one. And all cannabis, buy one, get one free. While supplies last. Oh, and did I mention these prices are at every 42 Degrees location? 42 Degrees. Buy your mom's house.
The Lions beat the Packers for a third straight time at Lambeau, 24-14. Detroit improves to 7-1. Josh Allen threw for 3 scores, and Tyler Bass hit a game-winning 61-yard field goal. Bills beat the Dolphins 30-27. Lamar Jackson threw 3 touchdowns. Ravens dominate the Broncos 41-10. Joe Burrow, 5 more touchdown passes in the Bengals' 41-24 win over the Raiders. Saquon Barkley had almost 200 total yards and 2 scores. Eagles beat the Jags 28-23. Kirk Cousins threw 3 touchdowns in the Falcons' 6-point win over the Cowboys. Dak Prescott left the game with an injured hamstring. Jaden Daniels threw 2 more scores. Commanders improved to 7-2 with a win over the Giants. Matthew Stafford threw a 39-yard game-winning touchdown to DeMarcus Robinson in overtime to beat the Seahawks 26-20. And Sam Darnold, 3 more touchdown passes. Vikings top the Colts on Sunday Night Football. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
All right, gentlemen, this is Emmett Smith on behalf of Depend, and I've got the perfect play. Run straight to your doctor's office for a life-changing catch. Because when prostate cancer is caught early, it's up to 99% treatable, and 1 blood test might be all it takes. And now through November, Depend is donating to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for select purchases. Talk about a great play.
From September 1st to November 30th, Depend is donating 40 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for Depend Shield Guards Real Fit products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $300,000 void in Mississippi.
Are you the parent of a 2 to 7-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting free radio offer. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse, the Parents' Choice Award-winning online learning program that's actually changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
Right now, we're offering a special radio promo to try it free for a month, but you have to go to abcmouse.com/radio to claim your free month. That's abcmouse.com/radio.
Sponsored by Age of Learn.
Break away from your boring coffee routine and stop by a Stories Coffee Company. Handcrafted, locally roasted premium coffee is served with a smile at one of our 5 Stories Omaha locations. Stop in or drive through and support local at Stories Coffee Company.
The holidays should be a time of magic and joy for every child. Sadly, for many, those feelings of warmth and wonder seem out of reach. Your generosity can bring smiles and a sense of normalcy to those who need it most. When you donate to Child Saving Institute, you become a substitute Santa and a beacon of hope. Join Child Saving Institute and become a substitute Santa today. Donate now at childsaving.org/substitute Santa.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
1620 The Zone.
Berger's the back. Garber's under center. Tight formation to the near side. Turn. Little fake the end around. Little screen back the other way. Pass caught at the 10, the 5. That is a touchdown for UCLA. Berger. And a little wide running back screen back the other way. And UCLA is up 9-0 here in Lincoln today. That was a well-conceived play. First and goal at the 4. Shotgun set. Dowdell to the right of Dillon. Twins go left. One to the near side is Nair. Motion a man, Barney turn, give it off to Dante off the right side, lowers his shoulder, bangs his way in, touchdown, Nebraska.
Really good cutback. Showed a little vision there, just slice it back right. That was where the crease was.
Hands out, clap, turn, fake the handoff, back to throw. Looking to take a shot downfield, and Fedoni intercepted, picked off by Medrano to the 25, 20, 15, leaps over Husker to the 10-5. That's a touchdown, UCLA.
Boy, he had him wide open too, Sharpie. Did you see that?
Whew. Kane Medrano with a pick six, a leaping Medrano over the top of a Husker around the 10 and took it in the end zone. And this challenge just got tougher. 19-7 UCLA. Turn. Fake the handoff. Back to throw. Stepping up, throwing deep downfield. Has a man open inside the 15. Makes a catch at the 10 to the 5. It's a touchdown UCLA. Gilmer makes a grab. Backpedals his way to the end zone. And UCLA has grabbed control of this game. They lead it 26-7. John Hole to try to make it a 6-point game.
Your defense has been really good in the second half.
Snap down, Hole's kick, up, and I think he missed it. Yep, he did. So he missed it, so it's a 7-point game. Pulled it to the left. I think they'll wind it here when they get going. Yep, starts up. Heinrich claps the hands, gets the snap. Back to throw. Has plenty of time, guns it down the field. The pass is going to be knocked away and complete. Or was it picked on the deflection? It might have been intercepted by UCLA. I think it was. On the deflection. As UCLA on the deflected ball picks off the pass. It went up in the air and pulled down by Kalen Moore on a ricochet. And UCLA takes over with a turnover at the 15-yard line. And they're going to come on the road to Lincoln and beat Nebraska today, 27-20. That thing bounced around like a pinball up in the air, and Moore snatched it out of the air.
I mean, you just try to dominate tomorrow. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it was a tremendous missed opportunity. It's a game that despite everything that happened early on, we weathered the storm and had a chance to go in. And now we have to battle back. So, it's the same question. You guys asked me after Indiana. I said, hey, we'll be back. I expect us to be back. Along the way, obviously when something like that, today happens and, that people are going to be disgruntled, you're going to hear things and the players are going to hear things, and that's all part of it, right? That's all part of when you lose a game like this. And so, if I was in the stands today, I'd be frustrated.
live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Chip.
I just got three things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine.
And we are on the basketball season around here.
Big day of hoops.
Big day of hoops. Welcome, college basketball. We haven't seen you in a while. Haven't seen UConn win a national championship in a while. College basketball is back.
Let's go.
Road to the NCAA tournament begins today.
I know we should have started off with dun, 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 dun.
It crossed my mind.
It was a good run for football around here, but now we're on to basketball.
Dak confirmed what I've always
known. 5-1, I was believing.
Woo! Well, we got lots to talk about today, my friend. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to a Monday. It's the 4th of November. It is not a victory Monday around here.
At least not for you yet. Still got
We don't play till tonight.
15 hours?
Yeah, we don't play till tonight. It's a 9-point favorite against the Buccaneers.
I'd take that.
Yeah. Could be some weather.
My biggest play of the week was pound Iowa. That worked out well.
did
I
not.
would.
No, actually, it was pound Wisconsin.
Yeah, Iowa pounding Wisconsin. I like the Chiefs tonight, but don't take my word for that.
That's a big number to cover, though, because Mayfield last week, even without Godwin and Evans, still threw for over 300 against Atlanta. Kept it close, threw a couple of picks. Well, we'll see.
Oh, Kansas City.
I mean, Travis Kelce.
Atlanta.
Travis Kelce left on Saturday. Went to see the Taylor Swift concert in Indianapolis. Don't know how that's going to affect him.
Uh-oh.
He might only have 7 catches for 110 tonight.
Oh, see, you are confident.
But today is the opening day of college basketball. Nebraska and Omaha, men and women, both are in action. Creighton goes a little bit later this week as welcome. University of Texas Rio Grande Valley is in the state of Nebraska to pick up some paycheck.
Yes, good morning.
Who's paying them more, Nebraska or Creighton?
What's the bigger collective?
That's a great question.
I mean, they are full in on paycheck, and I think they finished the week at Wisconsin.
Nice.
Can we find out who is paying more?
Been there, UTRGV. Going to do that here shortly. At least Omaha starts at home tonight.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
You get to kick off the season in your own bed, and then after that, we'll see you in January.
So hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome in on a Monday. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Jimmy is here as well. Hello, darkness. And I'm not talking about the fact that we had to change clocks, and at 5:30 it's pitch dark. It is pitch black outside right now. You may have been in the stream waiting for us for an hour. My apologies.
I've been there.
Yeah. You know what? I think
lively conversation.
I think I only had 2 clocks that I had to that manually I've had to change, and of course one of them on the stove I have not yet done.
Yeah, stove. We have a wall clock thing, more decoration that I had to wind back, and then one of our bathroom. Yeah, so 3, I guess technically.
Hello, darkness,
our old friend,
my old friend. There's going to be a lot of discussion about what happened on Saturday. What absolutely sucks about Saturday is that Nebraska now doesn't play for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
They have a bye before they play USC, and a game in which 2 teams are combined 9-9. Nebraska and USC are going to play in the Coliseum at who knows what time, a week from this upcoming Saturday, and they are a combined 9-9. There is no way to spin what happened on Saturday in Memorial Stadium. That is a bad loss. That is a bad look. And at this point of the season, with everything that is on the line, on the heels of the Ohio State win, that is unacceptable. And it has been quite the discussion since the gun sounded, and typical Nebraska fashion to lose a 1-score game, an interception off a knee. I mean, couldn't you have just had the foot?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, Barney. But Nebraska did so many things poorly on Saturday. So many things on all 3 levels of the football program that a game like Saturday, and credit to UCLA, they had a good game plan coming in, but let's don't kid ourselves. UCLA did not play great.
No.
UCLA did not play this amazing game that you went,
No, they didn't play the perfect game.
Because I'm a competitor. You know what? You go into a competition, and if they play better than you, but you played your best and you have no excuses and you're not looking back, I can accept that. And you can go, they were the better team today. That's what happens. We got winners and losers. You know what? UCLA was a winner. Nebraska was a loser. And they did so many things poorly in that game. So many things poorly in that game on week 9 of the season that everything is on the table to be questioned, including the head coach. Because that was a football team that there is something wrong. Their injury, whatever, Brian Ferentz coaching the offense at Nebraska, because Nebraska's become a punchline. Hey, this isn't a joke. That's true. Would you take Brian Ferentz over Marcus Satterfield right now? Yes, sir, you would. But
sadly, no.
There is something amiss with Nebraska football because I have said all year they're the same team that played against Colorado. They're the same team all year. They took a major step back, and you have no idea what you're going to get out of this team. And that is a scary, scary place to be in when you're 9 games into the season and you're 21 games as a head coach. There's a disconnect from the week to game day that they got to figure out, because right now they can't get out of their own way. And I think everything is in play to question what is going on. Or, Nick, you stop and say, guys, I'm going to be honest. It's been this way all year long. Nebraska's just not a very good football team.
Yeah.
With a lot of flaws that they've been able to manage their way to 5 wins. Again, and
that's fair.
All questions
that's
between
fair.
now and USC are on the table after a performance like that.
Absolutely. It seems weird because all of us, and I'm pretty sure not just local media, but college football media that was weighing in on this game, a lot of them took Nebraska. It's one of the more predictable outcomes, yet we didn't predict it. And there's a predictability with this team that you just it's the old adage of they are consistently inconsistent.
Mattingly. Not Don Mattingly.
Mattingly would be maddening, I think, is the best way to describe everything that you've seen. And what I still can't get over, and I mentioned this last week with how important the defense as tone setters is for this team. And we saw 14, what was it, a 14 play drive that really took a lot of the wind out of the sails. But typically when Nebraska has got off to a good start defensively, everything has fallen into place. And I'm not, look, they're one of many things to discuss about this one. But right there, you're thinking, ooh, this isn't great. But then again,
but they only gave up a field goal.
Yeah.
It might have been 8 minutes and sucked the life out of Memorial Stadium.
Right.
But it was only a field goal. Northern Iowa did the same thing.
And
now we go.
And then there's this, you use the word disconnect. Then you watch the offense. And throughout this entire game, you see disconnect. You see disconnect between the quarterback and his wide receivers, disconnect between the offensive coordinator, and I think his overall ability of what he has on a game plan, on a play sheet, on what he can run, where I don't think he has trust with that. There's just the belief, the belief from A to B to C on this team, and I'm not even talking about the 3 phases, but the defense to this, the belief is gone. And I don't want to say that all of a sudden you sit there for 2 weeks and it's just going to come back. Like all of a sudden we're going to be like, hey, we're all going to watch. People that are going out to Southern California to watch that game are still going to go.
Oh, they will.
You're going to have
there'll be a lot of people out there.
You're going to have that, unfortunately, that word, the B word, belief.
No, but I'll match your B. This is what's scary yesterday is the A word has started to enter into the conversation.
Apathy, yep.
And that's apathy. And that is the death knell of a college football program. I heard from more people on Saturday night, friends of mine that are like, yeah, I don't know if I can do this. I just don't know if the financial commitment, the emotional commitment, and I'm always, we only get 12 of these. I'm going to enjoy them for the good or the bad, but games like Saturday shake you, and you wonder what is going on. And I use the thing kind of on the heels of what you just said, Nick. So trust is a huge thing under the Matt Rule umbrella. Okay. And I said this on the Average Joe Sports Show podcast yesterday. Nebraska football is the trust tree. Okay. So you got to have a strong stump. Okay. You got to have a good base. That's got to be thick.
All right, I'm jiving.
The bark has to be, the bark can't just fall off when the wind blows.
Mm-hmm.
But you got all these different branches, and they all have to work together because they're all getting the same water. They're all getting the same sun, but everybody has to work together. And remember, this tree, which was planted back in November of 2022, okay, that tree has to stay alive for at least 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the most important thing. It's got to stay alive for 3 years.
I see it.
But I look at the trust tree right now for Nebraska, and I wonder if there's a little ash borer disease going on, because you have a head coach now. Just hang with me here for a moment. Hang with me.
Are you doing a speech for Arbor Day like later on or something?
It is Nebraska.
We still have that.
So
we'll see you in Nebraska City later
but
today.
But everything is about trust. You have a head football coach that his football team has not earned his trust. So when he says before the game that a championship mindset is earned week to week, and it's not like, oh, because I was vibing with what he said. I know I was at the game, so I didn't see it until afterwards, but people are like, wait till you hear what Rule just said. Nebraska's screwed. That was a text.
The championship.
Yeah, that was a text I got before kickoff, and I'm like, so I'm like scanning to see what players are here or not. I get what he was saying about it is a week to week, and you got to earn that. And Nebraska's not in a position where they just roll out of bed and they're good. Good, bang, 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 bang. So his football team has not earned his trust that they are a championship mindset.
Yeah.
The offensive line does not trust the offensive coordinator because the offensive coordinator won't commit to letting the big boys up front block the hell out of people and get into a rhythm when they're running the football.
Bingo.
Okay? I think the offense isn't trusted by the defense. I think the quarterback has little trust in the OC. The OC has no trust in what he is looking at his play sheet, and most of the time he's looking down and the play is going on, or that's just how it seems like it is. Okay? Defense doesn't trust the offense. There's a whole bunch of trust things here. During the week, who trusts the process during the week compared to the person that's all focused on just the victories? That's where I think there's a disconnect in this program right now, because it's weird. This should not be happening. But there's something that goes on during the week where you get to the weekend and all of a sudden they're surprised. What's going on in the preparation?
Yeah.
Remember, Rule said the preparation will lead to Saturday. We won't focus on the scoreboard because we've trusted our process.
Mm-hmm.
And then you bring in the fans. And the fans, are they trusting this program right now where it is headed with the optics? So this trust tree, man, there are some branches that are, there's some ash borer disease that is starting to creep in. The people that take care of the trees at the city, they're like, do we need to go put the yellow tape around it? And I'm saying no, because you got to make sure this tree lasts for 3 years. It's a weird deal. It's a weird spot to be in, but Nebraska's done it to themselves. They're 5-4. You have to live with it. You know what? Fortunately, you got 3 games left. And to be honest, I have no idea what you're going to get from this football team. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some course correction on the attitude and want to and getting after it at USC, but then it comes down to the Jimmies and the Joes. And that's a by the way, that's a terrible place to live this late in the season, not knowing what you're going to get.
Okay,
you could do that. You could do that like after Northern Iowa. You're like, hey, we're 3 games into the season. We're a old young team. Guys are trying to figure everything out.
Yeah. See that, and the way you ended it. By the way, okay, I'm with you on the
I'm gonna
analogy.
have the city getting in contact with me now. They're going to correct me on stuff about the ash
Ashbourne
borer.
disease. That was a hell of a pull there. That's to me the most disturbing part of where we are going into this bye week is what you just laid out there. That you have no idea what to expect in these next 3 games, and we're all now in the mindset of. This is how important that UCLA game is. And maybe the even more disturbing part of it is the team didn't treat it as such. That this is now a moment. I tweeted this out. It's a critical moment for this football team, but not knowing what this thing is going to look like for the last 3 games because there is zero identity.
Mm-hmm.
You having zero identity at this stage of the Matt Rule tenure and this stage of this season is a major problem, is a huge problem, because it's one thing if you and I and Jimmy, we're not really sure what to throw on a score against USC. But what's going on internally Like to me, we can all like, oh hell, we're going to show up and we'll drink, we'll see what happens, we'll break our heart again. That's fine. That's all for the conversation, and it's fun, and it is what it is. But as far as inside that locker room, that's where I'm more concerned about as far as lack of identity. And you bring up some interesting things about the analogy of the trust tree. Thinking about the way I viewed where they run 5 plays in a row after the pick six. I viewed it as they wanted to give Dillon a break, yet it was working. And we've talked to Verz about this too. You start getting guys into a rhythm, but then you get in a goal line situation to where, why are you throwing it on first, second, and then third there? Like what's again, none of it jives. You have an interesting theory there of, does the offensive line trust the offensive coordinator in the direction too? Because those inconsistencies of just overall game flow, and it wasn't, maybe I was just completely blinded by the results early in the season. First handful of games, there seemed to be more offensive flow, even a little bit more flow with the play calling.
I'll give you an example, Nick. This is driving me nuts. And this isn't just Saturday. So their offensive pace has become non-existent. One thing they were doing early in the season is, with the helmet communication, they weren't changing personnel at groupings as much before a play.
Yeah.
And they were done delivering the play to Dillon before it cut off at 15 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
And so Nebraska,
clock now.
Nebraska was snapping the ball in the double figure category. Now, there were so many times on Saturday that they didn't snap it till about 2 on the play clock. And I don't think that was intentional. I don't know if it's, UCLA did some really good stuff pre-snap, whether they had just 2 down linemen, guys were on mush rush, that kind of stuff. And they know if you collapse the middle of the pocket, Dillon's in trouble. But it had no pace to it, and the play clock was winding down, and it seemed like either, he's got too much control to make checks or just is spooked.
Yep.
Because the pace, I'm glad you brought that up, that pace is completely off compared to about the first 4 games of the season.
Yeah.
I'll even throw in Purdue. They had a little bit better pace, but it seems like since then, when the defenses got tougher and more film was accumulated on Nebraska's offense, the offense got slower.
You're right about the groupings too. I noticed that a lot on Saturday. The amount of guys you would see, a Bullock coming in, you would see a Carter Nelson coming in. You'd see all these different guys coming in at pretty much every play. You'd see an Elijah Judy coming in, then he'd be coming out or limping out. You would see a lot of these things taking place. But there was the moment there on it would have been their last actual scoring drive. And I'm watching this with some friends, and the whole time we're saying, there is zero sense of urgency, sense of urgency. And so to your point, I don't know what it was like throughout the rest of the game. It felt like usually they were snapping the ball inside 10 seconds, probably inside 8 to sometimes 5 seconds. In that moment, and we've talked about this many times, Gary.
And they had a wasted time. Not waste, but they had to take a time. Their last time out was because they were late getting out of the huddle.
Yeah. And how does that happen?
Hey, Huddle is a great corporation. I love the guys that started Huddle.
I know good people who work there.
I was there day one when David said, "Hey, we're thinking about this idea." Damn, how did I not get involved in that? I like Huddle. I don't necessarily like huddles.
You don't like the huddle?
But the new Brian Ferentz West is big on huddling.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, to me, again, we've talked about this, watching this offense play with pace, play with tempo, seems to get more rhythmic. Everyone seems to be a little bit more locked in, maybe because it's less paralysis by analysis. I don't know what it is, but they find flow. If there was a moment in that game, and even Yogi Roth and the commentators are talking about, hell, you even had the sideline reporter chiming in on that when it came to this, the lack of sense of urgency that they had in that one play.
By the way,
it was maddening.
Yogi Roth is a dude.
Oh,
Yogi
great.
Roth is so cool. Talk to him at halftime.
Yeah.
Man, the Big Ten Network is so fortunate to have Yogi Roth.
He's pretty darn good.
He's gonna. He told me they kind of kept him on the West Coast when they were doing the Big Ten bus tours. He's going to come to Lincoln next year.
Nice.
I think he's really, really good. And he's also a guy that watches a lot of film.
Yeah.
So I did get to the point about them talking about Nebraska tipping plays.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So there was that part of it as well, where this comes back to offensive issues with this team of okay, so that one example right there, very maddening that you don't go into tempo, but also, yeah, to your point about and what they brought up about tipping off plays, personnel groupings. There is a predictability of this offense that completely exists, yet you don't know how it's going to turn out because once that ball is snapped, especially in a lot of these passing plays, this is a circus. This is the first time, and we saw it starting to trend this way, where all of a sudden, I don't know if it's a designed rollout where they're having Dylan go to one side, or if he's just all of a sudden seeing something and prematurely evading the pocket. I don't know. He's running into areas that are obviously covered, but then all of a sudden bouncing back. Like the way that he's scrambling is like with zero purpose, which makes me think he's running scared. I know that's not the case. There's some design to getting him out.
Nick,
but at times I think he is.
I wouldn't course correct yourself if that's how you feel, because you could make a case. I mean, his head is there's so much in his head.
Mm-hmm.
This is one fear after watching the game yesterday. Is his reaction has slowed down so much, and his vision of the bigger picture of a play before, during, after, that I'm worried about. But I think it's also a program issue. I don't think Rule is a great in-game, in the moment, bam, play to play. We got to think on our feet.
Mm-hmm.
And then you bring in the guy upstairs and you're like, Jesus. And I could be off with that. And I would engage in a conversation, but it just like the in-moment reaction and adjustment and decision-making seems to be a clunky process.
And that's a good observation, because again, I'll go back to the first handful of games where everyone seemed to be a little bit more in sync, but the reaction time, even from Dylan, seeing it, getting rid of it, even when the ball, he'd feather the ball, we'd say, oh man, there's a little bit more air under it. He was still getting it out quickly. He was still getting the guy that was open. How many wide open receivers has he missed now these last couple of weeks too? And so there's something there. And I think you're right. I think there is, I want to make Dylan blameless in this, but there is a lot on him that I think it's more, hey, we might find out there's something physically wrong other than the back injury that took place in that game. But I do wonder if, as this offense has gotten even more disjointed and lacks the identity, if it's just slowed his process of thinking down. I mean, it really does seem like as he's trying to make sense of what is going on, his reaction time is basically what you see. I mean, his reaction time is accordingly to what that is. It's fascinating to watch, not in a good way. And I want to use an example of you saw many, many times with the team that you'll be rooting for tonight, the Kansas City Chiefs. Eric Bieniemy, there's this one observation when I was watching this again yesterday. They were running a lot of that crack toss, and that was something that had been a new little wrinkle. They'd really sold that. I think they had run that 4 times in their previous 4 possessions, to where, and this was just a simple play to convert a first down. It was after Nebraska made it 27-14. Now, this drive obviously didn't lead to points, but they moved the sticks. They gave their defense at least another opportunity to catch their breath. They faked that crack toss because it had been there for them. It was a weapon. Just a little bit of a fake that way. You have a tight end. The entire defense is shifting towards where that play is going to be. And then your tight end is wide open, gets down the field for about 15, 20 yards. Big play right there. And that to me is an example of setting a defense up, showing them something that they're not looking for. And then all of a sudden they're really selling out on that and then using their aggressiveness and pursuit to your advantage. That to me was an offense coordinator that is limited with what he has to work with, but is also dialed into what works within the personnel that he has. Can't say that for the guy that was on the other side.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the worst thing that's happened in Nebraska this year, they put 4 games on tape. Look at the 5 games since.
Yeah.
Especially
better defenses.
Especially, I mean, You just now ran through 3 teams. Take out Ohio State. Ohio State didn't care about Nebraska. Okay, Ohio State was more focused on Penn State while they were playing Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality of it, and they almost got burned.
Mm-hmm.
That's a game, another missed opportunity for Nebraska. But we're on to UCLA, and we'll be on to USC. There is film on Nebraska, so guys are getting exploited on defense because there are aspects of Nebraska's pass defense that have gone completely south, and that's scary.
Yep.
That now all aspects are like wobbling, and then also you've gone 3 straight games where you've had coordinators who have had time to sit and go over Nebraska film, and they can see that defense, what they're doing, or on defense. Hey, if we do this, we know we can win a lot of one-on-one battles. I mean, it's a terrible spot for Nebraska to be in because they still have 3 games to go. They still have some things they can accomplish, but are you feeling good at 5-4?
No,
because you probably had some truth serum delivered to you on Saturday on where you are and what is wrong. All right, let me give you the lineup for the show. Ben Oddie coming up at 8 from the BA Coaches Show. The whole lineup brought to you by the roofers at John Higgins Weather Guard. Evan Bland will stop by, and Jacob Bigelow as well. It is the opening day of college basketball. Gonzaga Baylor play. Texas Ohio State play.
Yep.
Omaha Mid-American Christian play. Nebraska UT Rio Grande Valley play. Hoops is here. Plus,
Duke and Maine.
Plus, Cooper Flagg, you can watch him.
That's right.
Didn't his twin brother just commit to Maine?
He did.
Yeah, they're going to miss each other by a year. Plus, we have women's hoops. Omaha and Nebraska play at high noon.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear Connor on the PA. Go Brits.
Yeah, he won't be here today.
Nope. Let's sneak in Mike here before the first break of the morning. This could be a morning with all of you. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Gary. How are you?
You know what? I am doing fine. How are you, sir?
Hey, buddy. I'm fantastic.
All right. That's the way to look at it. Positivity.
No, I'm
We're going to have to hang together over the next couple of days.
No, I just thank God that we have volleyball at our school because I don't go to very many games. I'm not a big donor and all that kind of stuff and everything, but I try to go to 2 or 3 games a year, or at least I send my boys to 2 games and then I go to 1, and I pick the UCLA game to go to. And the way I feel Troy Danner owes us money. We got to give him our money back. That was brutal. I don't care what anybody says. Dylan should be sat down. Set him down. I don't mean during the game, and you don't have to you don't have to bench him forever, but set him down. Why didn't Heinrich just play the whole second half? I don't get it. He is, even his long pass that he caught, that one guy caught, he was way late on the throw. There was 2 guys wide open. They could have hit him on the run way sooner. He's missing everybody. The guy behind me, and like I said, I don't go to all the games. The guy behind me is calling every single play. He's getting them right. I can't. I'm like, holy cow! And he goes like, here, 84 to. So now they're going to do it towards us. I said, okay. Now, sure enough, that's what he did. It's an absolute mess. Rules on the table because I've been a rule backer, but his staff is horrible. I mean, can we honestly say that the wide receiver coach is good? We don't know. He's young. The offensive line, Uncle Donnie, we all know why he's here. And the offensive coordinator obviously is horrible. Special teams coach, it's horrible when you say Buschini is our best freaking player. Our MVP is Buschini, and freaking our special teams still sucks. It's just terrible. And the defensive backs are lost. We make every quarterback look great every week.
The last
this guy's good.
Mike, Mike, and we appreciate the phone call. Mike, don't ruin your day by looking at the opponent's passing completion. Garber's, Howard, and Rourke in the last 3 weeks.
There's like the highest in the conference.
I mean, there's one. I want to make one quick note about the defensive backs because we need to talk more about them. I wish Nebraska would have waited until the injury report came out about Hartzog, because Jeremiah Charles, Eric Bieniemy woke up on Saturday morning and he said, "I'm going to make 25's day miserable."
Yep.
And they attacked him right away,
Mhm.
and then he was quickly out of the game.
Yep. And you got
And then
banged up Tommy Hill.
Then Tommy
Yep.
Hill came into the game.
Yep.
So, the one thing through all of this is not new. I preach this, and I preach it for a long time since Nebraska's been in this league. You got to be good with headsets. Now, Nebraska has some flaws with helmets, and they got some areas where you look at the position group and you go, I wonder if any of those guys would start anywhere else in the Big Ten. So they're working on that.
Yeah.
They got to have a palate cleanse of the good culture locker room guys, and they got to get some friggin' dudes. They got to get some dudes in here. But while you try and do that, you got to be so good with the headsets in this league. And it's not just the head coach and the coordinator. And the head coach might not be your best X's and O's guy. He might be the best organizer.
Yep.
Okay? Deshaun Foster might be a great organizer. They look more organized than Nebraska.
They did.
But your coaches have to be so good in this conference, because this is a really good coaching conference and not just coordinators. And so you don't have a lot of time, if you don't think a coach is cutting it, to hang around and deal with that flaw.
Yeah. Yeah. And this example against UCLA was a perfect one to discuss, because the punchline coming out of Big Ten Media Days was Deshaun Foster not promoting his program, whatever. But and this whole look out of the bye week, we saw how UCLA looked more prepared. Eric Bieniemy had a good plan offensively and felt like there were things that they could attack. And then when they had to adjust, they did adjust. Now, they didn't light up the scoreboard in the second half, but they possessed the football long enough to make that, a very big challenge for Nebraska. I'm not even going to bring up the defensive side of UCLA, because I think that's still more of what Nebraska.
UCLA did not play great.
Okay? You're right.
UCLA, that was 2-5 teams playing for the most part on Saturday.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing.
Yes.
Is one of those teams is actually 2-5, and another one was one away from bowl eligibility.
Yep. All right, quick break. We'll come back. We'll spend a lot of the morning on the phones. Why? I'd like to spend the morning talking about Raleigh Wooster.
I thought this was going to be a fantastic Husker athletic weekend after Friday night. Thinking, all right, this is going to roll into a festive afternoon. Going to be bowl eligible. Man, Monday's going to be fun.
But the predictability is Nebraska is 3-18 in the month of November in their last 21 games. Now, USC Nebraska play. Both teams are 9-9. Going to be a long week in Lincoln, or a long week plus in Lincoln and also in Los Angeles after USC lost another close game. Nebraska One Mike Joe, line's open for you. That's what we'll do this morning on the 42 Degree Source Hotline, 402-951-1620. That's the way to get in. We'll do emails, tweets, all of that stuff. It'll be a little Monday therapy, and I hope you pay us well. Yeah, by the hour.
Hi, let's chat.
It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. All right, off and rolling on a Monday. Start of college basketball season. I'm trying. UConn in search of their third straight national title. Jimmy's KU Jayhawks are preseason number 1.
Who does KU
do they
have?
play tonight?
Yes, they have.
Attention.
I think they have Howard.
Oh, the Duck. Okay.
I'm good.
Yes.
Cool.
Here
Check
is
back in January.
Nebraska ball, Mike. Hello.
What in the name of Mark Harlan just happened?
Hey, that's a good poll, old
Mr.
school
Shoop?
UCLA quarterback. I thought you'd go Ethan Garbers, but that's okay.
Mr. Shoop.
No.
No.
Jethro, we'll get you back next year, I promise.
Okay.
Now, here's the problem. I don't think Matt Rule knows how to use a red shirt.
What do you mean?
Where is Damon Benning returning punt? Oh, Damon.
Damon's not.
Caleb Benning returning
It'd be
punt?
illegal. He's out of eligibility.
Well, I know that. 96 was a long time ago. But his kid can return punts. Where's Malachi Coleman?
Okay, keep going.
Send him on a fly route 4 times a game if he can't do anything else.
So,
6'5".
Okay, but
Find him.
but what? If everything you just said, then why isn't he in the rotation? What's going on there?
I don't know.
Okay, I would just think because they do need some help at wide receiver. I don't know.
Caleb makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't think. Made the trip to Ohio State. I think he'll be the future punt returner for Nebraska. I think Rule's philosophy is why, and you can do this now, is why burn a red shirt just to play on special teams, but they have the punt return aspect is non-existent. There is no desire. There's no desire to return a punt, and IGC, not like he's gonna house one.
They don't have any Jews. His dad won the MVP in the Orange Bowl for a reason.
What?
Okay?
What?
He knows how to do this.
What do we?
And he will know how to do this for at least 3 years. He'll get the job, and he won't let go.
Okay.
Now, tell me about this basketball team.
It's going to take a little bit to figure out the rotations. They can kind of ease into their schedule. They don't have a lot of margin for error in the non-con. It's not the most difficult non-con, so they're going to have to rack up some wins. I think they get at least 10 in the Big Ten, and I think they're on the cusp of going back to the NCAA tournament for the second straight year. They got to stay healthy, and they need Bryce Williams to be one of the better players in the Big Ten, and Raleigh Wooster to be good as well.
Didn't Jacob Bigelow say there's something about they're a step slower?
Yeah, they will be. It'll be a different type of team. You got no Rink Mass, you got no Casey. They probably won't shoot it as well from 3-point range, but I think they'll be better defensively. They will play also, I think, a little bit of a slower pace.
Those two don't make any sense.
To play defense on a slower pace?
Yes.
What? So they're going to play games that are in the upper 60s.
I'm looking at Doc Sadler again.
Well, no.
What if they're W's, though?
No, those were like in the 50s.
Is Ringmask redshirting, or is he healing, or is he done?
He's actually playing the role of a coach. Yes, he is redshirting.
He's redshirting.
Yes.
So we're actually going to get him back?
Yes, next year.
That's interesting.
Lots of questions from a guy that has Nebraska ball in his first name.
I'll be as plugged in as I can tonight. When is my first actual TV game?
Oh.
You don't have you seen the non-con?
You don't have BTN Plus?
I'm guessing there's not many real TV games in the non-con.
Let me.
Everybody says the non-con sucks.
Let me find that for you here.
What did you just say? The what's the what?
I'm guessing there's not many TV games in the non-con because everybody says the non-con sucks.
Sunday, November 17th, St. Mary's Big Ten Network.
Yeah, grab yourself.
That's not going to be easy. Boy, oh boy.
No, you're fine. But after that, you're good. Everything else is like on regular TV.
That's
All right, Mike.
Okay.
All right, thank
Enjoy
you.
it, people.
Yep. All right. Here is Joe. Good morning, Joe.
Morning. Have I settled into the role of following Nebraska?
You got to work on your time. You got to ask Jimmy when you call, hey, who's on hold?
Right?
Who am I batting after?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good with it. I do love his enthusiasm. Sort of lost in the shuffle, and I know some people have called, like, maybe Glenn Thomas should be calling plays, and I don't think he should, but, he needs to start earning his money, too. I mean, everybody's sort of on the wide receivers coach, and obviously Satterfield's taking some heat, but I've heard a lot of fans here over the weekend like, oh, they don't think we're going to win another game, and it's like, goodness gracious, I don't want to hear those people saying the players have quit when them themselves have sort of given up on the team. I think we can beat USC. They're not world beaters. They're not very physical in the trenches. I'm not putting a lot of money on it, so it's like, but I'm also like, goodness gracious, like, really, like, you're trying to say we don't have a chance to win another game? Wisconsin plays a brutal schedule. I think they play Oregon right before they play us. That's a very winnable game. Now, Iowa is sort of looked good the last couple of weeks. So
it looks more than good.
Slightly.
Yeah, right. They whooped Wisconsin, and that's usually a pretty close game. But it's like, where are the adults in the room? Do we need more emotional men out here throwing temper tantrums? It's like, let's get it together here, folks. But I don't know. That's sort of my rant.
Joe, I would stay away from the fans. That's the third rail. Leave the fans alone.
No, and we
because that is a choice. I mean, I'm not saying you're going after them, but we got to take fans out of the conversation on Saturday. Fans were not the problem on Saturday. That was already going to be a gloomy bring your juice game. And I'm not saying you. You just got me onto a little bit of rant here. So I'm going to leave the fans alone, but continue.
No, I'm with you on a part of it because we've endured a lot of like unsuccessful years, and I've been at games where we're sort of out of any contention, and the enthusiasm in the stadium is still good, and they're still showing up. It's sort of their attitude come Sunday that sort of frustrates me. And I'm not like the fans are the problem. They're not the problem by any stretch of the imagination. It's just sort of their attitude come Sunday morning, Monday morning, where they've sort of given up and they're just still in their emotions that it's like, sometimes we got to be, who's the adult in the room? But that's just my take, and that's what I'll leave you with. Thanks,
all right,
guys.
Joe, thank you. That's the thing about being a fan.
Yeah.
I'm not going there.
I'm not either.
They're the fans and being excited for a gloomy 2:30 game against UCLA and kind of having the air sucked out of them after the first 8-minute drive because I thought it was good at the beginning. Yep. That is way down on the list. I will say this though, there will be a healthy contingent of Nebraska fans that will be in LA.
Mm-hmm.
That, despite what happened on Saturday,
it's like there'll
be a lot of people out at Los Angeles.
Yep.
All right, Jimmy's got an update coming up next. We'll get back to the phones, more on what happened between Nebraska and UCLA. And I think I came to a conclusion. You can relate to something that's going on in Lincoln.
Does it have something to do with the team that I root for in the NFL?
Exactly.
Oh.
We'll do that coming up in the next hour. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
computer is acting like the Nebraska offense. Football may be in the dumps, but the Nebraska Black Shorts scored back-to-back sweeps yesterday at Northwestern and Friday night at Wisconsin. Yesterday's match drew the first ever sellout at Northwestern with lots of red on hand, of course. They're now 22-1 and 12-0 in league play. The Huskers will next fly to the West Coast to play number 10 Oregon on Thursday and then Washington on Seattle on Saturday. There are some great breweries if they'd like some team-building opportunities. Along with yesterday, that means 3 road matches over 7 days in 2 time zones. John Cook compares it to an NBA schedule. This is your new normal. Creighton volleyball continues to roll along with a sweep of Villanova. That's their 9th straight brooming of an opponent. They are 21-2 and 12-0 in their conference. Pretty great stuff in volleyball in our state. Nebraska ball today and tonight. Women face Omaha at noon in a Screaming Kids game at PBA. If you know, you know. The men host UT Rio Grande Valley tonight. The Omaha men host Mid-American Christian at Baxter Arena at 7:05. Gary will paint the pictures and describe to you what he sees. Congrats to Seth Lugo and Bob of the Royals, who both win Gold Gloves. The Royals are also keeping pitcher Michael Wacha a 3-year, $51 million deal. In football, the Las Vegas Raiders have fired offensive coordinator Luke Getsy. Congratulations to him after 9 games. The Raiders also fire offensive line coach James Craig, quarterbacks coach Rich Scangello, both of whom, like Getsy, were in their first seasons with Las Vegas, and they didn't even finish it. The team is riding its first 5-game losing streak since 2018. It's kind of hard to believe it that they do that every year. And they share the worst record in the NFL, 2-7, following Sunday's 41-21 loss at Cincinnati. Getsy's offense, while getting off to fast starts and scoring an opening drive touchdown in 4 of the Raiders' past 5 games, became too bogged down later in games. Wait, more of that again. Hey, speaking of bogged down, Dak Prescott will undergo an MRI on Monday to determine the severity of his injury sustained yesterday, yet another loss, this time at Atlanta. Cowboys overlord and captor Jerry Jones called it a high hamstring injury. Ironically, one needs to be very high in order to watch that team. Additionally, CeeDee Lamb is dealing with a right AC joint issue with his shoulder and is set to go an MRI. Jarrah says he's hopeful Lamb can continue to play since he was able to play through it on Sunday. I hate my football team. Go new team to be named later. In college, South Carolina was fined $250,000 by the Southeastern Conference for fans rushing the field after the Gamecocks' 44-20 win over Texas A&M Saturday night. The school was fined by the league for its second violation under its policy, which was last amended in 2023. The Gamecocks were fined $100,000 in January when the men's basketball team defeated Kentucky by a lot. The latest fine per SEC policy will go to Texas A&M. Hey, you never know when they'll need the funds for another buyout in Aggieland.
Well, hey, Shane Beamer might be a little bit quirky. A guy can coach a little football.
Yeah.
The first playoff rankings come out tomorrow night. We'll see who gets the coveted home field game. I'm very curious on 7 through 12. I think I know who 1 through 4 will be.
That is it. I wonder how excited people get with this first one too, because now we are going to see other than.
I think because where it lands tomorrow, people will be really excited.
Oh yeah, you're going to be.
You need alternate
tomorrow's
programming.
A multi-screen day. So
tonight's the last professional football game without political ads for the race for the president until 2026. Yep.
Oh, they'll still come up with some sort of political.
We had to push through, and you're right. Wasn't it you who brought this up on Friday that you thought the texting blitz was going to be or was bad?
There are some candidates
over
that
the
have
weekend is going to be
texting.
Yeah. The door-to-door treatment was thriving.
Oh,
over
you're
the
getting
weekend
that
too.
now.
Well, we were, and we got it a lot on between Saturday and Sunday.
Good morning to all my phone calls from new Nebraska towns.
Was it the yeah?
I'll show you a video.
Shout out Crab Orchard.
We were gone for one. I'll show you a video of what this one person was wearing. It was very interesting. Yeah. And then based on that, my wife and I guessed who they were representing. We were actually very wrong.
Swimsuit.
Yeah.
So my recents go Scam Likely, Kimball, Kearney,
yes.
Panama, Omaha. I'm just skipping the ones of people that I know. Raymond.
Firth.
Oh, Raymond. Okay.
Weeping Water and Cortland. Good morning, all of them.
So good luck to everybody on election eve. But the college football playoff 12 will be announced tomorrow. All right, back to the phones we go on the 42 Degree The Source hotline, 402-951-1620. Here is Lance. Lance, thanks for holding through the top of the hour. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, I was wondering when Jimmy was talking there, Jimmy, do you have to be higher to watch the Cowboys or the Jayhawks this year?
That's true. That's a lot of edibles this year. But I'm going to go with the Cowboys because the Jayhawks still have Lance Leipold, who I still have a lot of faith in. The Cowboys have nothing.
Yeah, I would agree to that statement. You know, I was thinking about the game Saturday, and you know, it's probably the first time under the rule era where I've been really disappointed. I mean, it's the first game I think we've lost that we probably should have won. And so, I don't think we've won a game yet. Maybe we have that. Maybe we should have lost, but we actually won. So I wonder if that's the way we're currently trending and looking where that goes. But as far as Satterfield goes, and even Foley, I think it's going to be weird going into year 3 where you might be looking at replacing 3 separate coordinators. Now, and maybe Tony White won't be the hot name, but maybe he sees some cracks in the armor and decides to take maybe a lesser job than what he thought he was going to take. So how many teams have you seen that had to, in year 3, switch all 3 coordinators or 2 or 3 coordinators? And what does that say moving forward in terms of winning and that slow long-term success?
Well, I think the one coordinator in year 3 is probably more common than we believe. But as far as a clean sweep of coordinators, which I don't think Nebraska is, I don't think they're doing that unless, again, someone leaves because there's a better job. I think, but I get what you're saying, Lance, and that is this kind of goes back to what Gary's talking about with the trust. But as far as the positions itself, on the offensive side, more than anything, like I'm looking at running backs, where's been the consistent development there? Wide receivers, which were supposed to be that much better this year, where's that growth period? And then, of course, offense coordinator, I think, goes without saying as far as the disconnect and some of the inconsistencies we've seen there. I think it's not ideal, obviously, but if you're serious about this program, and I'd like to believe Matt Rule is still very, very serious about this program, that you look through all of that stuff and you understand that, hey, if these are necessary changes, that we need to find people. He's got a large network outside of just his boys, if you will, that I'd like to think that there is a list that he possesses of people that he would like to be able to contact and bring in if he ultimately makes those decisions, which I think there's going to be some very important decisions to be made.
Lance, do you think he's already made a decision on Marcus Satterfield? Lance hung up.
He'll hang up and listen.
He had some great stuff.
It's very, very simple. Are you getting the bang for your buck?
Yeah,
with your offensive
coordinator. You're paying over $1 million for
now.
A guy.
I think if they run this back, then you just abandon hope.
Mm-hmm.
But Mosey will be an on-field coach next year. Where will he be coaching?
That's a good question too, because
will he be the running back coach next year?
And am I off by, as far as gauging the temperature of what people think about with certain coaches? I get Satterfield's names brought up all the time. And then it seems like more recently it's gone Satterfield to McGuire. I don't feel like E.J. Barthel's name is brought up as much. But when you look at that position group, that is an area. How many times have we talked about the running backs, the lack of development, the fact that you have, the way I described it on Saturday to some friends was you have a variation of good running backs that don't really do anything explosive. Some do this good where the other doesn't. Some do this good, but that one doesn't do it. So but none of them ever like, well, what this guy does the best though is going to lead you to home runs. It's going to lead you to the explosive plays that you need in the offense. It's going to give you that security in the running game, even when blocking isn't maybe necessarily there at times. But also the teaching part of it, we saw this in the Ohio State game. We saw it at times last week. We've seen it throughout the season. Just overall vision, when to get skinny through holes, all those things that you always see and talked about, that none of it really jives with this group. And so sometimes you're just limited with the group you have. I understand that. But also, at what point have you seen this, any guys in the running back room in the last 2 years take a major step forward, take any step forward?
Now, so I'm vibing with you, and we've discussed this ad nauseum about the running back rotation. Doesn't make sense. They don't have the Caleb Johnson. Think about this. The scary thing about Nebraska offensively during the last 3 games is there's nobody walking through the door to give this offense a spark.
Right.
All of a sudden, there's going to be a guy that comes off the IL, and here we go.
Yep.
Or there's like new offensive coordinator. He's got a little bit more creativity. He's going to start dialing some things up. Iowa's offense was beleaguered. They hired a guy who they're no longer the punchline. Brian Ferentz West is now the punchline of offensive coordinating in the Big Ten.
Such a good nickname.
But Caleb Johnson helped spark a beleaguered offense.
Yeah.
Nebraska doesn't have that guy, and even more so at running back.
He was on the roster, too.
I think your best player on offense is Ja'Cory Barney.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
Ja'Cory Barney might be the best player in the program right now next to Ty Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
That's
also agree with that. Ty's playing really good.
Ja'Cory Barney is a freshman. And Nebraska's inability to move the pile on first down. They had 14 first down runs on Saturday, 2.9 yards. Now, they never had a run over 14 yards. Their running back room is what it is. It's just a bunch of guys. But I will say this, like watching Dowdell, and I don't know if this becomes a coaching thing or what. His vision is mind-boggling. If he could just work on his vision, because I don't think you're ever going to take I love my contact out of him.
Yeah.
If you could change Dowdell's vision, think what that could do to him. Because I saw him do a couple of things in the second half that I thought, man, an offseason with a really good position coach that knows the position and sees what everybody else sees, he might be okay. I still don't think RB1 for 25 is on your roster, but my opinion changed a little slightly about Dowdell. I think there's something there, but you got to fix the vision, because there were times where if he would have bounced just left, or he could see the hole as you're coming up and he just looks right, okay, you're 5, 6, 7 yards instead of 1 or 2.
Right.
But operationally, Nebraska is not very good on offense. But here's my counter argument, and I'm going to give you both sides. If you're thinking Rule's got to make a move, he's also in the back of his mind saying, man, we got some plays that are dialed up and we're just not executing them. Because sitting up high on Saturday, they were open.
You're seeing the all-22 again. Yeah.
They were open.
Yeah.
They were open. That would be your counter argument to, you got to get rid of your OC, Matt. Yeah. When he walks into the coffee shop this morning and he's like, we got to get our quarterback better.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more to this about lack of creativity, predictable, all that kind of stuff.
And that's the thing that good on you to bring that up, because if we're going to go all in on Marcus Satterfield, the majority of people that are doing that, you're watching it from the television. So you're not seeing deep downfield. We've talked about this several times, even last year. I remember saying this a few times, but early this year too, there's some slick play designs in there where you do get certain people that are open, whether they're not found, or you understand the idea behind the play.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. And then, so if we're going to say, well, but then the counter of that is, okay, where's the consistency, the flow of it too? Why are you throwing 8 passes in a row in a game? Why in this case are you running the ball 5 straight times where you're getting success, and then all of a sudden you abandon that, and then you come up empty on that drive? So it's not even necessarily the designs. That's never really been my problem with Marcus Satterfield ever. It's the flow of it. It's when you're calling certain plays at what time, and when you're seeing certain things work, why do you get away from it? All of that is fair.
This program has a major problem. And this isn't just a Satterfield problem, a Rule. It also is players. Nebraska has 0 in-game feel.
100%.
The situational football awareness.
Everything is so hard.
From helmets to headsets is unbelievable.
They make offense look so damn hard.
People are clamoring for Harburg. He's played enough football. What the hell is he doing?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yep. Well, we got to get to Jim. Yeah. Good morning, Jim. Welcome to Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Jim? I think Jim had called back. Jim, 3 times is a lucky one. Here is Scott, who was at the game on Saturday. Good morning, Scott.
Morning, gentlemen. So, like everybody else, I walked out of that stadium and I was I was 4-letter words all the way to my car talking about Satterfield and Foley and everything like that. And as I was reflecting on it on Sunday, the in-person view is a little bit different than you can see on TV. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the pick right at the start of the third quarter, Fedoni was completely uncovered. He was wide open. Yep. So I don't know if Raiola is a little shell-shocked because at moments he's running for his life back there. But I particularly watched Jamal Banks on 3 consecutive pass plays. And on one play, he actually toasted his man up and had him turn the completely wrong direction. But Jamal Banks was going so lackadaisical that the guy did a complete 360 spin and was able to, within 3 steps, be covering him again. And Jamal Banks was absolutely, it looked like he was going at like 30%. And so my point is, I used to believe, now would have been in college in the 80s, I used to believe as a Husker fan, it was utterly impossible for me to care about that team and that university more than the guys on the football field. There was no chance that I cared about that team more than they did because it all comes down to accountability, desire, and attitude. And I don't necessarily think that's the truth anymore. And it really bothers me. Obviously, Jimmy's and Joe's matter, but heart and integrity are a huge component to success of a team. And I am ultimately just petrified of what I saw on Saturday.
Well, Scott, let me ask you this real quick. I'm going to add to this. You said heart and integrity and all of that. What about just overall buy-in to what you're doing as any member of that offense? A buy-in to what is happening that I always want to believe a Division I, a Power 4 football player is going to give maximum effort, but can it come across as they're either being lackadaisical or there's hesitation because they just don't buy into what they're doing or they don't buy into that certain play or something like that? I mean, and I'm not trying to excuse it. I'm just saying, can you add that into the element of it, of the overall buy-in of what you're doing offensively?
To a point, but I guess I hadn't really thought of it that way, but I guess if you're asking me to run this route, I'm going to run it to the best of my ability, no matter when I run it, no matter what the situation is. And I'm not, okay. I always grew up with the mentality. It's not for me to question why, but to do and die, Okay. And
yeah,
so
that's fair.
It's possible. It's possible that they don't buy in, but then it's a bigger problem than what we originally thought. Because now
that's
you got talent,
scary, but
talent that doesn't care gets beat by guys that care every day, all day. You know the rule.
Yep.
All right, gentlemen.
Scott, thanks. I don't agree with that there is no buy-in or a lack of buy-in. I think there is something about the process during the week and then what gets to Saturday. Because guys saying, well, we were surprised. We didn't know that was coming. Mm-hmm. That's startling. So what's going on during the week? What is being taught? What is being allowed to happen? What is the disconnect that the head coach is preaching process and guys are looking at the scoreboard? Also Saturday was the day that the sermonizing ended.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Saturday became
was pretty
what
black
do
and
you
white.
do on the field? Mm-hmm. The field is your scoreboard.
Yep.
Not we got really good guys. They're in the community. They go to school. That's the day that 21 games in, it shifted to what are you doing on the field?
And I'm glad
that's how they'll be judged in the last 3 games.
You're right. And I'm glad there wasn't a philosophical post-game presence there from the head coach. Because that needed to be disappointing.
I'm going to say this, Nick. I don't think Rule was surprised on what happened on Saturday. If they would have pulled that game out, he would have said all the right things.
Yeah, yes.
And then walked away and said to his wife, holy moly.
Yeah, we got lucky.
Yep.
We stole one.
I'm going off how quickly he just made a comment, got to questions.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't surprise him. So now we need to ask the question, why?
Yep.
What happened from getting on a plane in Columbus to taking the field on Saturday against UCLA where you were flat.
Mm-hmm.
What happened there? That's the why that needs to be answered, because that's the missing part of things that Rule has preached that they're going to do. Good in the red zone, going to run for 75 yards in the fourth quarter. We're about the process. Where Saturday, it's just, boys, let's just go play, because you know what? We've had a hard week and we put it in, and that's what's getting us. The training is going to take care of us on Saturday. Where has all of that gone? Where's all of that gone in the teaching and the talent, which combines together? And Nebraska's in a weird spot right now because they're in a transition, but they're not good enough in one area to just go, I got it. Don't worry about it, coach. Don't worry about it, Dylan. We got it. We're going to win. They're not that good.
Well, and
that's a good one area.
Trying to figure out this team's approach week in and week out is one of the most complex and maddening things to do. So with how you break this down, Gary, let me ask you this question then. If everything is on the table the way it was on Saturday, you're at home, you have a chance to be bowl eligible, and you're going up against a team that, yes, they're coming off of a bye week, and a team that you're seeing on film, you're seeing, hey, they're better than what their record is. But come on, man, we're hosting this game. This is much different.
Yeah, a lot on the line.
Yes,
yep, a lot on the line.
The only reason you don't have, we'll just call it because it's been used so much this year, the juice. You don't have the juice to open up the game, or you don't have the juice throughout the game.
Well, that was the first game that I thought that was a bring your own juice game.
Yeah. But when you don't have that, this sounds crazy to even ask, but I'm just going to ask you. Were they feeling themselves too much going into that game, coming off the Ohio State game? Which seems crazy, but I mean, isn't that
it's a very, very, very fair question. Very fair.
Which, how does that happen?
Well, I think there's also, there's the old been here we go again, guys, to the new guys. I got even more. You're on to something. I'm going to pose a question. We come back from a break that's kind of along those lines that has to do with the end of the game. Jim is back. We'll get to Jim right away when we come back. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. All right, third time is a charm. Jim's workplace got in the way. He's still on hold with us. Good morning, Jim.
Committed.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Hey, Jim.
Oh, not too bad. We were watching the game Saturday, wondering, one of the guys pointed out after Raiola got hurt and left that there seemed to be a little more energy in that offensive line. Did you guys take anything out of that, or is there a star power issue maybe developing? I'll let you guys answer that.
No. That's an interesting observation, and I think that's something to explore. I think when Harburg came in, UCLA also backed off a little bit, and they didn't rush, they didn't blitz as much. So you had more time in the pocket, but that's something to watch, and I'm not going to push back on that.
Yeah, it just looked a little. I don't know. Just something's not.
It was nice to see an offensive lineman go help him up once.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this is a new world, Jim, with Dylan at quarterback, especially when he's not playing well.
Yep.
Yeah, it is, and we haven't had a star power like this for a long time.
We've never had one in the NIL era.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Jim, thanks.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for the phone call. Bottom line, whether it be play calling, play choice, personnel groupings, Nebraska has a freshman quarterback who I still think has a huge upside, but has hit the freshman wall. And he's got to figure it out, and they've got to help him figure it out. He can't do it on his own, but there is tape on hhim, and people are designing a game plan to come get him. And once that pressure comes right up the middle, this is a thing that I know, because I watched him a little bit more under duress, because there were moments where he looked like Dylan.
Yep.
Okay, the early season Dylan, where he was dealing, and his vision was from boundary to boundary and not just locked onto one, or let's get it to the sideline. I mean, there's part of me that sees him, Nick, and I go, man, they've told him, do not turn the ball over, do not turn the ball over, do not turn the ball over.
Some of the throws that he just gets rid of, and almost to the point prematurely missing open guys. Yeah, it's almost like if I take this chance, there's a slight chance that someone steps in on it, as opposed to, the safe play, just throw it out of bounds, I'm going to do it.
See, there's his mechanics. This is the big, Nebraska's offseason is going to be monstrous in terms of development with players, but in particular him, where let's work on your footwork a little bit more. It's never been great, but then when you get pressure like this, it gets all off a kilter. But one thing he's starting to do, and this is as you get adjusted to the college game, and never played quarterback, of course, as you can see, they don't allow 5'10", 165-pound quarterbacks. Watch his eyes. Once that rush comes, the eyes drop, and all of a sudden, that Fedoni that is open, if you go bam, and you let it rip right away, it's eyes drop, look back up. You see somebody that is in the way of Fedoni, but you see somebody next to him. What did he try to throw it to Banks? He tried to
the one that's behind him a little bit.
Yeah, so instead of Fedoni right down the seam, which by the way was designed at halftime.
Oh, okay, you're talking about the pick six. Yeah.
Then,
it was Banks.
Then he, Banks was on was it the curl?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was the curl, and he missed on that, and it ended up as a pick six.
There was and to the example to your point about kind of old Dylan, the sideline throw that he had to Isaiah Nayor, that was he slung that, and that was a pretty throw late in the game too. So you're thinking, okay, these are the moments that you want to have, your big time player make a big time play there. And he did. He made a great throw, great catch. You get it on the boundary, and it's a huge momentum swing. But everybody's been breaking down the pick six. And everybody knows what was missed there and how that could have been a huge play. It was earlier in the game though, and it was on a third. I think it was the first series. On the third down, where, again, the timing. If he has two routes that are basically layered routes, you could have gone either way, but I think he goes to Banks on this one. No. This was Jalen Lloyd. Throws behind Jalen Lloyd. Mm-hmm. Had Jalen Lloyd separated immediately. You get the ball, you give it one look, that ball's out. Not only is Jalen Lloyd making that catch, he's separated enough to where he's also probably got an ability to turn that up too. Ball was late and ball was behind. ends up being an incompletion, and you're punting, as opposed to what could have been an explosive play in this game.
Going on the heels of what Jim said, the head coach's comments about Dillon are interesting after every game. They're kind of now the same.
Yeah, and a lot of it is
but
defending him.
Yeah, and then him defending the OC.
Mm-hmm.
Something is off there. Something is off in the chain of command. Joey brings this up. Was I the only one that noticed Rule on the sidelines with a play sheet most of the second half?
Yeah.
Almost like he was calling plays or more involved in the offense.
Or at least, was
maybe I've never noticed that before, but I did
him.
see a lot of that on
and he
Saturday.
He was.
We were blocked.
He was. He did have a play sheet in front of him. Now, I don't know how unusual that is in college football in general, even if you're not the offensive head coach and you're someone who has a major hand in the offense. Is it a situation where he's just making sure that he has every stone unturned when it comes to being in exact communication, hearing everything that's going in, but also being able to look at it with his eyes too? I think there was an element of that. I don't necessarily I don't think Matt Rule was calling any of the plays. I think he just wanted to make sure he knew he was exactly on top of everything that was coming in, communicating between all of his offensive personnel.
Here is Nolan. Good morning, Nolan.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. Hey, I just wanted to call in and, talk about Satterfield. I mean, he's not only setting up our players for failure, but, I mean, why are we passing the ball on that third and fourth and goal after that 5-yard run just worked? I mean, it hasn't worked all day. And I also feel like some of these plays he's calling not only sets us up for failure, but sets up our quarterbacks to get hurt. I mean, you look at last year with Heinrich in that Purdue game. He rolls out, gets his bell rung, and then the next play we're calling an option. He fumbles the football. I believe he got injured after that, and Sims came in. So I'm a little frustrated why the pass has not been working all day long. We throw it again. Raiola has to scramble, make something happen, puts his body on the line, and he gets injured. It's maddening. And if Rule is calling the plays, then, I mean, I guess that's different. But if Satterfield truly was calling the plays in that second half, it's unreal.
Yeah. Nolan, thanks for the phone call. There's very little in-game feel. And I don't think
that's it right
I don't
there.
know if there's a respect or a trust of the run game.
Yeah.
Because the part that you alluded to and a caller did earlier about predictability. So I sat with an earshot of somebody who played at Nebraska on Saturday, and they were able to, once Nebraska got into the red zone, I think they had more success in calling what the play exactly was going to be than Nebraska had. Because once the personnel grouping of Nelson and Bullock came in on that fourth down, the person 2 people down from me in the press box said, this is what they're going to do. They're going to run a pick, and they're going to then throw a fade to Nelson in the end zone.
Yep.
Like Nelson has become like a gadget guy, I guess. And he said this. He goes, it's going to be awkward because they're going to ask Dillon, a right-handed quarterback, to roll left.
Yep.
He said, watch this.
And then Dowdell gets blown up, too.
Dowdell gets blasted.
Yep.
The play gets off kilter. Doesn't happen. But I know that so people have gotten at me today about, not gotten at me, but have said, hey, on the Big Ten Network, they were talking about that they could see tackles were tipping it. I think Nebraska being predictable on offense has a lot more to do with their personnel groupings than anything.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about watching tackles and how they're leaning. And I know that does happen. And that's what you look at in film if you're a defensive coordinator or you're a defensive lineman. But I just think it's more of the personnel groupings of, hey, Nelson and Bullock haven't been together all day. Now they're in the game on a key fourth down. I wonder if the play is going to go that way. And then there's another one where they ran an end around with Lloyd. They ran the same exact play against Ohio State.
Yep.
And UCLA has film.
Yes.
Okay, so UCLA has probably, they've seen that play, and they blew it up at the point of contact and tackled Lloyd like a yard behind the line of scrimmage.
And I hated where that play was called, too, when you're in the red zone there. Actually, I think they're inside the 10 at that point, and you blow that. Hell, they were at the 5. I take that back. They're at the 5.
It's such a I don't know, maybe this is just what Nebraska football is. Nebraska football makes everything so hard.
Yes, offensively,
there are things that could be so much easier surrounding the operation of the football program that all of a sudden becomes hard.
Thank you. Okay, that is
it's
the best way to describe it.
And that's a terrible spot to be in, especially on offense, because they're in a funk and there's nobody walking through the door to save them.
Nope.
Okay? It's not all of a sudden.
You need their opposing defense just to have an off day.
Yeah. It's not, even you say, hey, why don't you sit Dylan? If they didn't sit him against Indiana, they weren't sitting him on Saturday.
Right.
Okay, and here's another, and it's not like Harburg's all of a sudden going to give the spark over 60 minutes. Here's another weird thing about Dylan. So he gets hurt, and you're like, oh, he might be out.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets up, and he was in a great deal of pain. Did they show it on TV? Because in the stadium, so when Dylan came back into the game,
and he collapses.
But did they show, how much of it did they show on TV? Because I'm going to fill in the blanks for you on how that
he was already
happened.
holding his back and starting to kneel
of him
down.
coming in and then keeling over.
Okay, so
they did show it. Yeah, they showed a lot of
Dylan
it.
was down the field. He was like at about the 30-yard line.
Yeah.
And he was holding his helmet. He just ran onto the field.
Okay, they didn't show that part, no.
He ran. They didn't say, Dylan.
He did.
He ran onto the field on his own.
My huddle.
Then you could tell, oh, that's a spasm. Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, you could tell it. Yeah, it tightened up on him. But when you said they make everything hard,
they make football hard.
The ultimate example of this is their final touchdown. How many things had to go right? How much time comes off the clock? And in a moment of the game where you think the defense is going to be a little bit more conservative, they're not taking as many gambles as they were earlier in the game. And things that were clearly available to Nebraska, they're still making it excruciatingly difficult to execute. That they finally get in the end zone and you feel like, just as a fan or anybody watching, you felt like you just ran a marathon. You're like, God, that was hard. Jesus, look how much time came off the clock.
There's no pace.
No urgency.
And one thing sets up another. There's zero in-game feel that is going on on that side of the ball. Now, I also we spent a lot of time talking about the offense.
Yeah.
We can talk about the defense.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about Nebraska's pass defense they're banged up.
Yep.
They're thank God for Ty Robinson.
Yeah, he's playing out of his mind right now.
But outside of that, the defense is starting to walk down the road of an aspect of there's no way in God's green earth that UCLA should have run for over 100 yards by the middle of the second quarter against Nebraska. That's schemed up pretty good, but that's also not winning one-on-one stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they rub the linebackers out. Nebraska's linebacker core is not good with film.
Yep.
Having film on them. All right, quick break. Come back. Ben Audie will join us top of the hour. We still got Evan Bland. We got Jacob Bigelow. So we will talk some basketball. Today is the opening day of college basketball season. Let the run for 3 in a row begin for UConn. And the year of Cooper Flagg.
Yes.
And will this be the year that Houston breaks through? Houston's won 125 games in the last 4 years, but 0 national titles.
Mm-hmm.
Will the Big East get more than 3 teams in? Will the Big Ten win a national championship for the first time since 2000?
Since Mateen Cleaves.
Unlikely.
Nope.
And will Omaha make the NCAA tournament for the first time?
Let's go.
It's mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, this is pretty cool. As most of you know, we are celebrating the 25 years of 1620 The Zone. Go to 1620thezone.com. Celebrate 25 years of you putting up with us. At 11 a.m., you'll be able to see a new video with the voice of the Zone Past. Pictures, audio, and a video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday this month as we interview voices of Zones Past. Awesome stuff. Look forward to that. Launching today, 11 a.m.
With The Godfather.
Oh, it drops today?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know we
I
interviewed him.
I sat down with Neil Nelkin.
Yeah.
Pretty good. They did not allow the swear words to stay, I heard.
That's too bad, because we need the
and
true experience.
You and I had a good one, too, where you regaled a story that I think it'll be in the original, but we can't put it in the 20-minute
People
one.
that are young and not as intelligent and full of stuff.
Matt Rule speaks at 11:30 today. This is the only media availability of the week on the bye week. So I'm sure that'll be
put the skunk on the table.
People will be tuning in. I know that, and I'm going to bring this up to Evan. I don't get to go to the way our schedule works. I'm not able to go to the weekly press conferences. This is a question today about the offense. This is a good bye week question because you have a offense that in 15 games that Matt Rule has coached in the Big Ten, his offense is averaging 16.6 points and only twice have gone over 28 points. Well, Iowa makes a change with Brian Ferentz, bring in Tim Lester. Granted, they have Caleb Johnson, makes a big deal, but Iowa has scored 30 or more 6 times, and 4 of those have occurred in Big Ten play. Now, did they need the extra touchdown against Wisconsin? Oh, I think that was a little bit of a statement.
No.
But they changed the narrative on offense. When and how does Nebraska change the narrative on their offense? And this is probably the question where we can all start from about Nebraska offensively. What are they trying to do?
Great
like,
question.
What is Nebraska trying to do on offense?
It is a fantastic question.
And then we can go from there on what their answer is. Not this is what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
What are they trying to do?
Yeah.
Because your want probably doesn't have the exact pieces you desire.
Yeah.
But actually, what are you trying to do on offense? Because nothing makes sense. Nothing lines up to set up something later, or just it's like standing next to Drew Carey. Spin the wheel. Price is Right. Boom, that's a run. Boom, that's another run.
Yeah.
Hey, can we another run?
Well,
and then no, too much running.
Yeah.
Throw the ball.
Yep. Oh, we've ran it 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
I go back to that post pick 6 series of 5 runs in a row, all netting at the least 4 yards. You get into a 3rd and 5. And clearly, because they made that decision, that was 4 down territory. The way that they were running in that sequence in that series, you're telling me 2 plays of running the football there could not have gotten you the 5 yards the way that they were running, as opposed to going back to the pass, because it's almost like you felt like
it almost felt like if they didn't run on 2nd down, they were screwed.
Yep.
And they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So they threw 3 straight times.
Yep. Yeah, because then you're forced to throw them.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, quick break. We come back. Ponder this question. That last drive, 81 yards away, still plenty of time. All you need is a score. I was thinking, man, Nebraska might go for 2.
Mm-hmm.
How many people in the stadium and how many people on the sideline were in these 2 groups? You went, here we go. This is the time that Nebraska exercises the demons. Or you said, here we go again. It's mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. All right, Ben Otte's coming up here in about 7 minutes to be exact. Clint texts in, at no point after UCLA scored their final touchdown did I think we would win. The feeling I had was, how bad will this be? 27-7, people were headed for the exits. But I go back to a question here. Nick, Nebraska gets the ball back, 2:22 to go. UCLA is going, please get back in the game. Please. Nebraska takes over at the 19. It's Heinrich Harburg. This is the moment. Nebraska's going to tie the game. We're going to overtime. Well, no, we don't know if an extra point will be good, so we're going to have to go for 2. Or were you like, yeah, how will this one end again? Were you like Stu Manji, is like, get the chart out. We're going to add another one of these.
Yes. My answer is going to be a little bit more complex. It is that in my brain and my heart, I knew this ain't going to go well. But there was that one little part of me that thought, watch, they will finally come from behind. They'll get bowl eligible. They'll do it with Heinrich Harburg, and then we'll have a quarterback controversy during the bye week.
I'm with you. I thought as badly as Nebraska's played in the second half, they, like UCLA, just kept saying, hey, you know what? Look, on this drive, we're going to give you another unsportsmanlike conduct
That's
penalty.
why anybody saying UCLA played great, they didn't play great. UCLA didn't play great.
They played a really solid road game. Back-to-back weeks, they played well on the road or back-to-back games. They played a really solid road game for about 40 minutes. And allowed them to be up 27-7. They took advantage of Nebraska's mistakes, but UCLA they said, hey, come on, back into the game. Let's make this interesting. But I wonder if you got the vibe on the sidelines of these are the guys that say, well, we've been in this situation before. How is this going to end in a world of hurt? Or maybe a younger guy was like, here we go. I love this. This is awesome. We got a chance. We shouldn't be in this game, but we're in this game, and we might win this game. Let's go. That's kind of where I think Matt Rule is at. That's a weird spot to be in if you're in charge of the program. All right, Mr. Otte, who's got a thought or two. He was awful active on social media in the last 36 hours. He'll join us next. Evan Bland as well on 1620 The Zone.
we are where we are, and you have to just have to play yourself back into it. And we have 3 more opportunities to go play football. We've got some great seniors that I know want to win one, if not 2 or 3, and that's what we'll have to do.
Matt Rule talked to the media at 11:30 today, regularly scheduled Monday presser, only time that there'll be media availability during the bye week ahead of USC. Nebraska's got issues. USC has issues. That'll be an interesting game. Maybe 6:30 on the Peacock for Nebraska and USC. We're trying to get away from the 10 o'clock local kickoff.
Oh, man. Otherwise, you and I are doing Big Red Overreaction on Sunday morning.
There's a lot of people that are in the industry that think it'll be picked up by Peacock for 6:30. Ben Audie from the BA Coaches Show joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
We are doing wonderful because it's Monday and we get to talk with you and all of our great listeners.
Hey, well, I appreciate that, but I do remember a time when these things were a little bit more fun to do with you guys. I can't lie.
Yeah, you know what?
5-1 was cool.
You know what? That would be an interesting game today if you had the Nebraska team that played against Colorado played against the Nebraska team that played against UCLA. What would the spread be?
20? I don't know.
Whoa, you're not a gambling guy, but you are a coach. Let me start here, because we're down to 3 games to go, and there is an important development and next level with 15. There's the attractiveness of the portal, high school recruiting. Why would you want to come to Nebraska? This is why you'd want to come to Nebraska if you're an offensive guy. Do you think in a world where there is professional courtesy when it comes to coaching, and it's a business and it's not always, rainbows and butterflies, do you think that Matt Rule has already made a decision on where this offense needs to go?
That is a very good question. And here's how I'll answer that, because I do think that is a very interesting question, and I do completely understand where you're coming from. I think that if nothing happens today or throughout early this week, then I think Matt Rule's sole focus would just be to get the best out of what this season is with the current, staff that it has. What I will say is just everything I know about Matt Rule and the coaches that have been around that are like Matt Rule. If he's not going to be making changes right now, I do genuinely think he's not thinking about making changes until it's time to make changes. If that makes any sense, what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely, we are vibing with that. But just there is not only just a friend but professional courtesy. So yeah, we're on the same page. I like how you're thinking.
Yeah, that's just kind of my thought, and I don't know. That's just, to me, if he decided, this is just my opinion, just everything I know about Matt Rule, I would personally be thinking a little bit differently of him and how much I kind of prop him up in my head. If he knows that he's moving on, he knows 100%, but he's not doing anything about it right now. If he's already thinking about next season, then I'd be looking at him a little bit differently, I guess, if that makes sense.
We were having the conversation of this offense of the difference between play design and play call. Have you seen that regress in this last month from not just play designs seem to be there, but just that overall flow? And for what reason did that flow all of a sudden? Is it just because of better competition, better defense? What in your opinion, where is that all of a sudden now just been so out of sorts?
I definitely agree. There has been, I feel like, a huge, shift. And I think it's probably getting to the Big Ten defenses, and they're well coached. And I'm not saying necessarily that we aren't, but I just don't feel like the offense in any way is improving. And that's what so I finally decided to sit down and rewatch. I watched most of that game. I didn't get through the whole thing. I watched about 3.5 quarters last night, and I just kept watching it, and I was just trying to figure it out. And I can't figure out the answer to my question of what part of this offense looks better or improved from week to week, from a month ago, from the beginning of the season. I can't figure out where any of that has improved. So when I'm looking at the play calling, I definitely think the play calling needs a huge shift. I am still trying to wrap my head around, and maybe you guys can think this is a weird thought and you're not going to offend me if you do, but I'm trying to figure out how a couple weeks ago at that press conference that Marcus Satterfield, the one that kind of got blown up all over social media.
Yeah.
One of the things that he said that rubbed me the wrong way, kind of caught my guard when he talked about he needs to get in the mindset to running the football, right? My opinion was, all right, you're a year and a half into Nebraska, probably should have had that figured out, especially when all your head coach talks about is running the ball. But what's bothering me now is I felt like even against UCLA, we didn't really try and commit to running the football till we're down 20-7.
Mm-hmm.
We have a 4-yard rush and then we throw the ball 4 or 5 times in a row. And I'm not one of those, super old school guys that, the whole run the ball, this needs to be an option offense. But all I'm saying is one of the things that's bothered me with this offense right now is what's being said at press conferences isn't translating to the field. And I'm not talking necessarily about like the success or like the wins. Like obviously that's what they're trying to do. But what I'm talking about is like when they're saying this is what we're going to do. This is a style of football we're going to try and play. And it's not translating. And I just would really love to know where that disconnect is between what the head coach is saying and what the offensive coordinator is doing, but now also what the offensive coordinator is also saying. Because now we at least have an example of him saying this year, this is what he wants to do. Now we have a couple games where that didn't happen. So I'm just trying to figure out where this huge disconnect, it just never seems like we get in a rhythm play calling. And it just seems so predictable to me.
Yep.
That's something that I've struggled with is it's always like I was sitting in the south end zone and I could tell you on the opposite side of the field personnel. And I'm like, all right, this is the play we're running. We're going to run that fade play to the corner. You know what I mean? Or it's like, okay, we're going to try and run power to get this in. That's just something I've been struggling with, and I can't quite figure it out.
The cohesion, it's an odd group of 11 that are on the field trying to work together. But there is one key guy. There's probably a multitude of reasons, but Nebraska has to figure this out for the last 3 games and going into next year. Ben, what's wrong with Dylan? What happened to what happened to the Dylan in September compared to the Dylan beginning against Rutgers to again what we saw on Saturday?
I really think if I had the perfect answer, I don't think I'd be talking to you guys on radio. I think I'd be in the building right now.
1.4, my friend. It's a good business to be in if you can get it.
That's true.
I do think, though, that, like, to me, it just seems like the confidence is completely gone. I feel like there's just no confidence there. And here's something that I was thinking about. So I'll tell you guys that I'm obviously a big Nebraska Cornhusker fan, but in the NFL, I follow the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? And something that I was talking with my dad about it, and I heard Mike Delaware mention it on their Cornhusker counseling show yesterday of just like, with Glenn Thomas, right, coming from Pittsburgh. And I'm not trying to, talk bad. This is just an observation that I've had just talking with people. When he was in Pittsburgh last season, his quarterback was Kenny Pickett, right? And a lot of the issues that Kenny Pickett had in Pittsburgh of not seeing guys downfield, being inconsistent, poor footwork, holding on to the ball too long and taking sacks. And he'd get away with that a little bit in college. Once he got to the NFL, he couldn't quite get that. And I know the NFL, the offensive line pass protection we have at Nebraska is not what Kenny Pickett had at Pittsburgh University. So holding on to the ball too long, poor eyes, just not the confidence, right? I'm not saying that Glenn Thomas is causing those issues, because some of those issues you could say that Dylan had coming in. But what I am saying is now looking at this season and then looking at what he had in Pittsburgh, and I know the NFL is different, but all I'm trying to say is those issues aren't being fixed, whether that was last year or now this year. So I don't think he's necessarily causing those issues, but I want to know, I'm not saying he isn't, but is he able to coach that out of them? Is he able to coach that out of his quarterbacks? Because right now I'm not seeing it. Maybe it's possible. Maybe I'm also looking really too far into it. That could be just me trying to grasp at straws here and trying to figure out what's going on. That was just a little observation that I had of trying to figure out why it could be possible that Dylan seems to be regressing now that that confidence seems to be gone. I don't know, but it's hard to tell on the TV broadcast a little bit, but from where I was sitting, to me, it looked like on that pick six that Thomas Fidone, as little bit slower as he may be, I do genuinely think he could have got a touchdown or at least a big 50-yard play. It seemed to me they were running cover 2, and he was going right up the seam uncovered with the safety standing flat-footed on that pick six. To me, it's just Dylan missed him. And how many times, did Dylan miss guys that could get 10, 15 yards coming out of the backfield and stuff, just missing those checkdowns. So I do feel like this must be a confidence thing and willing to pull the trigger, because he also is holding on to the ball too long,
Well, I want you to keep that offensive mindset for a moment here, too. And if you've got the scouting report in front of you getting ready to face Nebraska and Tony White's defense, what's your reaction to that defense? What are you looking at, and what are you thinking going into the week on how you're going to prepare?
I think, to me, it comes down to, can we take care of the front 3, 4, 5 guys? And if we can, we're going to have a very good time. I was very much not impressed with the pressure that we were not able to get on Garbers from UCLA. He seemed to me look like a Heisman candidate. I know he's not, but I'm saying just looking at the play, watching him play on Saturday, he sure looked like it. That to me, that was just bad. And I understand we have problems on the back end. I am not, gonna dismiss that. But what I'm just saying is, to me, it seems like the recipe of, if we can handle Nebraska's studs up front, we're going to have a good day. And early in the game, John Bullock seemed to be having he picked up a few tackles early. And, it just seems that I was not impressed with, because UCLA gave up a lot of sacks going into that game. And we were not just able to pressure UCLA very much at all. And that was very disappointing to me. And then also just the way UCLA was able to run the football. That was probably, I would have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that was by far their best rushing game of the year.
It was, yeah.
And I do understand that, they had a huge chunk of that, like 50-something yards come on the one quarterback scramble. Yeah. But still, when
they wanted to run, they could run.
Yeah, that's a problem to me. Mm-hmm. That's what I can't figure out. Is that was supposed to be Nebraska's strength of the defense here? And again, like Indiana, we thought they were, if they're going to be, if they're going to, and Indiana did throw the ball all over us. I'm not saying they didn't, but they also were able to run the ball pretty effectively too.
Yep.
And that should not be happening against UCLA. I know they've played a tough schedule, so maybe that record was slightly deceiving, but there's zero excuse for an offense that's been so bad this year to be able to run the ball down our throats like that.
Ben Otte from the BA Coaches Show joining us. And so Nebraska only got 1 sack. They had 12 pressures. I can't imagine if Robinson and Butler were not playing on Saturday, what would have happened. But people are going to wonder, where did James Williams go? But sticking with the defense, and you alluded to it a little bit, and they kind of go hand in hand with Nebraska defensively all year long. If they don't get quarterback pressure, they're going to need some big plays on the back end. Charles got picked on, came out of the game. Buford didn't have a very good game. They're banged up back there. They're susceptible to the deep throw. But what do you make of the last 3 quarterbacks to face Nebraska are 54 of 71?
Yeah, that's a huge problem, obviously. Coming into the year, we had said, like, if there was going to be, one part of the defense that worried you, it would have ended up being the back end. Now, me personally, when the former defensive backs coach resigned, I was a little bit worried just because I understood how important he was to that defense, the defensive backs, and the cohesion of it. He was like the defensive passing game coordinator, right? And I'm not saying that John Butler isn't great. All I'm saying is it is still a little bit of a transition. And now we're deep enough in the year where I can say, all right, this transition period needed to be over. I was willing to at least a little bit overlook. When the Illinois thing happened, I was like, okay, you know what? We played 3 teams that we handled pretty well, and we were making mistakes on film, but those teams weren't necessarily good enough to burn us. I think Colorado now might be able to do that, but the Colorado that we faced at the time just wasn't quite there, good enough to burn us on some of these mistakes we're putting on film, right? Well, Illinois was, and I thought, okay, we got some of these things out of the way. Sometime as a coach, it's really good to be able to go in the film room and be like, look, you made this mistake. You've been making this mistake for 3 weeks. But look, they burnt you on it now. Like, it's good sometimes to have that film, right? I thought that was going to, and we kind of got there. I thought the way defense played Purdue and Rutgers was, I thought the back end actually played pretty well. But now we see some of these same issues. And I can't figure out exactly why. It's very much bothering me. Like I said, when Charles got in, Charles had a rough game. It just seemed like we couldn't get that other corner spot going all game. And that's just been a big problem, and it can continue. It's going to end up. You think USC is not going to try and take advantage of that? I understand USC is having a tough season right now, but we just faced Eric Bieniemy that was able to take advantage of that. And Eric Bieniemy is a great coach. You know who's also a great offensive coach? Lincoln Riley. Oh, and he's going to have a bye week to prepare, because apparently having a bye week against Nebraska just makes your powers double by a bit. But Nebraska can't seem to figure out how to come out of a bye week.
Yeah.
So
Why couldn't Nebraska's powers double in their bye week going in Indiana?
I would love to know the answer to that. I actually was feeling pretty good about that, and then we all saw what happened against Indiana. So maybe this is the time, but I don't know. That worries me just because Eric Bieniemy is a great coach, but Lincoln Riley's also, for all the problems USC has, I don't think anyone can deny that Lincoln Riley is a great offensive mind.
Hey, Ben, take away Ja'Cory Barney in this question. If you're planning and scheming Nebraska offensively, and you know that, hey, they're going to throw the ball a lot, who worries you the most out of the group not named Ja'Cory Barney?
I would say, just based on he's shown flashes of Thomas Fedoni, I guess. Just because I don't think that there's a ton of weapons right now on the offense that do scare me, and I'm not even. I don't know. I have not been. We talked before the season on how I thought Fedoni was going to have
and I was right
a
there
great
with you.
year, and how we were going to use Fedoni. And I'm willing to now admit that I was wrong, but I don't think I was wrong on him, because when we've used him the way I pictured in my head, I thought it has worked pretty well. You know what I mean? I'm tired of the horizontal passing, just not my thing. I understood it maybe against UTEP showing some things on film, but now we're deep enough in the season. We're like, hey man, this just isn't working. Why is he the guy we're throwing to horizontally? So if I did have to pick a weapon, I guess it would probably be him, just because he has shown the ability to be a vertical passing threat, and we don't really have a ton of options right now.
Where can people consume what will be a busy week before another
it's
game
gonna be
week?
A busy week.
Yeah.
I'm fuming, Gary.
I know, and hey, we are all in this together because we're looking for solutions. There aren't a lot out there. There are not a lot out there on the offensive side of the ball. That's the scary thing, Ben.
Yeah, no, that's a scary thing. And we are going to discuss all of that on the BA Coaches Show this week. So if you go to YouTube, check out the BA Coaches Show. You can go check that out. We're going to discuss all the offensive issues. If you go to nbnrpodcast.com, go click on that blog, Red Zone Reflections. You are going to get an article from me later today that is not very happy about the offense.
Oh, well, you're not alone. It's a very crowded space. Ben, as always, appreciate the insight, my friend.
Yep, thank you, guys.
Ben Audie from the BA Coaches Show. Before the break, here is Scott. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Yes, there's probably many things that contribute to what's going on with Dylan right now. It seems like one of the glaring things, it's football is a copycat sport. And I don't know if it's Bielema or when it happened exactly, but teams figured out he is not good under pressure. And they are blitzing him like crazy. For the life of me, between the fact that, Dylan seems like he has a hard time pulling the trigger, that he wants to go through his progressions, and why do we not have receivers that are breaking off on any sort of hot route? Is this not designed? Are the receivers not reading this? Blitzes come in that I need to turn around so Dylan can get rid of the ball. I know everybody wants to blame Satterfield, rightfully so, but what about Garrett McGuire? The boy wonder coach at receiver, where is the improvement there? Where is the help for Dylan? It just seems like as soon as teams figured out, this kid's got a good arm and he's a great quarterback, but he cannot handle any blitzes at all. And that seems to me, once those teams figured it out, his game regressed massively. I'll just shut up and listen.
Scott, thanks.
The
pressure up the middle.
Yep.
That's what I would do every single snap.
Yep. And that starts the process too. And it's even in this game where there were multiple examples of receivers being open. So, for those moments, I'll give Satterfield and even McGuire a pass in that, where you have guys doing their job being open. But you brought it up, where the eye level goes. As soon as that pressure comes, your eyes are coming down now. Now you're looking for the safety valve. Now you're looking for that underneath route. Now you're anything that is beyond 5 to 10 yards that could be wide open, you're not seeing. And that's a problem. That's what we've seen now here transpire.
Only thing that can bail Dylan out for the last 3 games is his best friend.
Ja'Cory?
No. The running game.
Yeah. Look, okay, seriously.
Nebraska running the football, committing to running the football is the best thing that could happen to Dylan Raiola for the last 3 games.
You can involve Ja'Cory in that too. No, but think about that. And this would be a great question to ask Marcus Satterfield. I don't know if he'd give you the honest answer or not. This is my opinion. I might be completely off on it. They committed to the run for 5 straight plays because they wanted to give Dylan a break. Because he just threw a pick 6. He was swimming in it. And leading up to that pick 6, he didn't have a good first half either. He was swimming in it.
Man, if that's the case, then put a for sale sign in front of your house and go home.
I know.
Go back to South Carolina.
Because then why didn't you go back to it? It's like, okay, we got some positive yards. I think he's calmed down a little bit. I swear that's it. Because if it wasn't, then why didn't you just keep doing that? 3rd and 5, where they couldn't stop you for anything less than 4 yards. It was 4 down territory, obviously, because they go for it on 4th down. Why didn't you just keep running the football? I'm led to believe that was the only reason. It wasn't because, hey, you know what? We're going to get a little rhythm running. I've now just abandoned that thought. The only thing that makes sense to me right now is that Dylan needed a break, hand the ball off for a while, and calm down. I swear. That's how I felt. I truly feel that way. I don't think Marcus Satterfield would admit that, but that's what it looked like to me. Because, again, when you see the lack of consistency with the running game or flow of it after that, what are we left with then?
Evan Bland from the World Herald will join us here momentarily. Jacob Bigelow as well. We'll talk some hoops on 2.5 straight hours talking Big Red overreaction. Freaking Nebraska. I was ready to talk some basketball today.
Oh, I was excited
about how changing the clocks is one of the stupider things we do in this country.
It is.
Among a lot of things we do.
We can still talk about that. It
Eating
is.
pickles at Jimmy John's, but nope. Nebraska had to lose to UCLA and did a bunch of things poorly. Evan Bland, Jacob Bigelow. Plus, we will catch up on a lot of the emails, tweets, and interaction that we've had so far on the show. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley at 1620 The Zone. All right, Nebraska baseball got a big pickup over the weekend. That's what we bring in Evan Bland to talk about from the Omaha World Herald. Good morning.
And only that.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, I'm getting tweets over the weekend saying there's 102 days till baseball season.
Yeah.
So I guess the anticipation is here.
We'll be in Arizona before we know it.
Yeah, that's a good pickup. But let's talk a little football. When did you think Nebraska knew on Saturday that they were in trouble, that they went, uh-oh, this might be a different game than what we had in our mind?
Well, I mean, I think probably the pick six to open the third quarter was that moment where you get through that half, the first half, and I think when everyone kind of got their bearings back, you're like, okay, after all of that, you're down one score, right? And like you can start battling your way back and figuring this out, piecing it together. And I think that pick six, which, I mean, everything went wrong from the read to the accuracy of the throw, and then your quarterback gets hurdled at the end of the play just to add insult to injury. Like that was kind of the moment where it was like, oh man, does the offense have the ability to come back and to make this thing competitive again? So that was kind of what I thought maybe that moment would be. UCLA's offense, man, like I didn't see them scoring 27 points. Of course, 20 of those against the defense, but that part to me was what made the difference. I thought UCLA's defense generally was pretty solid. They've done kind of what they've done before, but just the fact that the offense was able to score, UCLA's offense was able to score on those first three possessions and then add the defensive touchdown to open the third quarter. To me, that was like, man, I don't know what the path back for Nebraska is. And even up in the press box, my thought at the time was like, they're going to get close enough to bring people back in and to like get their hopes up, and they're going to lose it. And that's what they've done for years. And man, I mean, it's maybe it's just lazy writing, but it's the same plot line over and over again. And you feel for the fans that left and all the rest, but just a surprising day. I thought Nebraska would get it done last week. I think most people believed that they would. But yeah, that third quarter was that early in the third quarter to me was that moment where I think people kind of realized this thing may not happen.
Evan, I know before the game starts, the game's in Lincoln and even on the road, you'll make your way down on the field before at some point. What was your overall feel of the guys approaching this game? Did anything feel different? Anything seem different in going through all of the pregame routines leading up to kickoff? Because watching it, obviously a 14-play drive and taking a lot of time off that results in the points can have an effect, but it seemed the whole thing just seemed flat.
It did. No, I agree. I thought that going down to the field, an hour, 45 minutes before the game, and it felt kind of like a sleepy atmosphere. Crowd was a little bit late arriving, maybe. And maybe that was just me contrasting it with the Colorado game, where it just felt incredibly electric and everyone was there, and you could feel the buzz kind of in your bones. But this wasn't that. Like this, it kind of felt like this was like a 9 a.m. West Coast kind of game, and it was maybe a little warmer than people thought. It wasn't really rainy, so they're just maybe. I guess I can't speak to what the attitude was from the players necessarily. I mean, they were going through their warm-ups as usual, but UCLA doesn't necessarily get the juices flowing, and it did kind of feel like once you got into this thing, it was going to be one of those bring your own momentum sort of games, and of course, Nebraska couldn't rely on the crowd because UCLA gets the ball first, like you said, and they spend 8 minutes of game clock kind of methodically moving down the field, and they score, and Nebraska punts quickly, and UCLA scores, and like just immediately the crowd was out of it and pretty much stayed out of it until the fourth quarter when things got a little bit closer. But just kind of the intangibles, the psychological side of it. It's just, you didn't feel great about maybe where Nebraska's head was. The defense had its moments. Really Nebraska's best contributors were UCLA defenders talking smack out of turn and preserving Nebraska drives. Like that's what it came down to. So it's a tough conversation because you can say the crowd wasn't much of a factor, but by the same token, Nebraska didn't give the crowd much reason to get into things, to stand, to be emotionally invested or excited. So it's no matter, I think either way you look at it, it's a tough spot to be in. Nebraska had a lot on the table. I mean, to get that bull monkey off their back, and it doesn't happen, and now you have 2 weeks to stew over it. Like it's not a great place to be right now. And Nebraska needs to give their crowd, their fan base, something to be excited about, and there really just isn't a ton of that right here.
Why do you think they're? And I know that Matt Rule is trying to figure this out. And I don't think he has a lot of answers for some of the questions that have popped up. But Nebraska football is kind of very casual. The starting quarterback is very casual, but he's a competitor. But that's the vibe. And then I look at the fourth quarter where there is really no sense of urgency when you're like, you know what? UCLA has opened up the door, but we're running out of time. We got to get back into this game.
Yep.
Where is there a lack of urgency surrounding the entire program, not just in a fourth quarter of a first Saturday in November game?
I can't think of a time like Saturday when Nebraska's driving down the field and they're just kind of, I mean, casual is a good way to describe how the tempo was at that moment. I can't remember a time when the fans recognize that and they're yelling, "Come on, pick up the pace." And the players on the field are like shushing them so they can get their calls in. Like it was a remarkable moment where, I mean, just of these contrasting, missions that were going on in that spot. To me, it comes down to operational. Like I don't put that on Raiola or any of the players specifically. Like you need to be prepared to pick up the pace in those moments. And UCLA's defense at that time was wearing down. You could see that a little bit. And when you're giving them 35 seconds between snaps to regroup and reset, like you're not doing yourself any favors, and the clock's ticking down. And there were just a lot of moments like when they decided to go for it on fourth down instead of taking the points. Like I thought that was the right play at that time because I didn't know that they'd maybe get that extra possession there at the very end. It kind of felt like you needed to make it a one-score game in that moment. But as it turned out, Nebraska did have that extra time, and like you just think back, they could have saved multiple minutes, I think, in terms of the urgency that they had. So to me, that comes back to how efficiently is the play getting called in? Who is it Marcus Satterfield alone calling the plays? Because we saw Matt Rule with a play sheet down on the sideline there at the end of the game. Is it a collaborative effort? What's that operation like? And I think that's kind of the frustrating part is, the execution piece wasn't always there, but there are things that you can control if you're Nebraska in that moment. And one of those things is play with pace, give yourself a chance, get more plays in, try to complete this comeback, which incidentally would have been the second biggest comeback in school history if they could have done it. And I think if you play it correctly in terms of pace and urgency, like maybe you have a chance to do that. And so it didn't happen. And again, I think that's something we'll have to ask Matt Rule about today with the urgency there late. Was that the plan for Nebraska, or were things sort of getting caught, in terms of communication that is something that they need to fix? So I think that's something we'll hopefully learn here today.
From a matchup standpoint, how surprised were you that UCLA offensively did what they did against Nebraska's defense? And to further that question, we know this has always been the more reliable phase of all three for this 24 season. How reliable is it given the matchups you still have remaining on the schedule, in your opinion, Evan?
Yeah, I mean, I think what UCLA has proven to be pretty good at, not just against Nebraska, has been scripting its early plays. Yeah. And with Eric Bieniemy, I mean, you've seen that in multiple weeks now, and that seems like it's especially important with the West Coast offensive style. And it worked against Nebraska. They produced points on the first three drives. I think what surprised me maybe the most about that particular matchup was you look at what UCLA has not been able to do on the ground, and the fact that they hit 100 yards rushing in the first half as the worst FBS rush offense statistically. Like that was the part that concerns you. Certainly that was maybe uncharacteristic for both UCLA and for what Nebraska had done. I didn't think the Black Shirts played poorly necessarily. Like, there weren't a ton of missed tackles. There were just a lot of inopportune moments, a lot of third downs where maybe their blitzes didn't get home. And then in the second half, you just had a couple of busts. That long touchdown pass was a bust, or the long Garbers run, but there were only a few of those in the second half. And, I think that's kind of why when you talk about the defense here this season, like, I still think the jury's out on kind of how you view that unit in totality, because I think there's still a path where those guys rise up, and it could be the reason Nebraska wins a couple of games down the stretch, or not. They could fade potentially, and maybe the tackling's not there, and the third down defense isn't solid, and they don't get it done. So I think these last three games will be critical, I guess, in how we judge what Nebraska does. I mean, UCLA or USC's offense is quite a bit different than Iowa's offense, but they're both potent in their own ways. To me, maybe that Wisconsin game is the one where you really are going to be able to clamp down at home against a Badger team that is pretty banged up and trying to figure out its own identity. So I still think there's opportunities for the defense to rise up. The other thing, of course, from Saturday was no takeaways from the defense. That was the first time all season that's been the case. And in such a close game, Nebraska's working its way back. The offense is struggling. Like, you needed one of those moments, if not for your defense to score, at least to give the offense the short field. And it didn't happen. And you credit UCLA for that too. But, I think the defense has been good, but you're kind of getting shades of last year a little bit too here, where unless the defense kind of steps up and puts on its Superman cape, it's not going to be able to make up for maybe the deficiencies of what the offense and special teams are putting out.
Would we be comfortable saying we should have said it all along once we saw this season unfold, that Nebraska is just a 500 team? How much pushback do you think you'd get if you just said, you know what, at the end of the day, just looking at issues and personnel, the couple of things have popped up where we didn't envision, but yeah, Nebraska's a 500 team. Do you think they're better than a 500 team?
Well, I think their first half of the season, they played like they were better than a 500 team, and maybe some of that's opponent-based, but I think they've regressed in the second half. I don't mind saying that. I mean, the defense has become a little bit more erratic. The offense certainly has dipped pretty severely from what it was. Special teams, I guess, has been okay, a little bit better. You have a missed extra point last week, and the return game has been pretty much non-existent all season. You have Bushini, but I think the other thing you look at that I was kind of thinking about was, like, you look at their 5 wins, and really of those 5, Colorado is the only quality one at this point. I mean, Rutgers has fallen off the map. Purdue's historically bad right now in the Big Ten. Illinois, I mean, they lost Illinois, but Illinois has kind of come down to earth here a little bit of late as well. So, like, you don't see a ton of quality victories on the staff or on the schedule right now. So, yeah, I mean, you look at the next 3 games, USC and Wisconsin and Iowa. To me, it's going to come down to probably that Wisconsin game is sort of a play-in game for a bowl game with the Badgers. But I just, it's hard to trust Nebraska week in and week out. And we said it a week ago, like, yeah, they played well in a loss at Ohio State, but how much do you trust that all of that stuff's going to carry over into the next week? And sure enough, it doesn't carry over. And so I think that's probably the most maddening part, is, like, you've seen flashes of where this team could play like an 8-4 team. But man, you've seen some flashes too where they look like a 3-9 club, and you just don't know week in and week out, and that's awfully frustrating for people.
It is. Evan, as always, we appreciate it. Looking forward to conversations with the head coach today or later this morning, and always a conversation with you. Have a good bye week. We'll talk to you next week ahead of USC.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
That's Evan Bland.
You brought up, by the way, real quickly, the casual part of it. That couldn't have been more spot on when you see moments in the game, and that moment in particular, and quite the scene too, where you have the crowd trying to. It wasn't wasn't the crowd frustrated with what they'd seen all day from the offense. It was them trying to, come on, let's speed up. Everybody was doing that, and it was just such a fascinating scene of the actual players. Hey, quiet down. We're trying. I mean, that right there in itself is just a microcosm of this offense, and that at the times that you need to have that sense of urgency, like they needed to have that sense of urgency right out of the gate in that game, and in a moment in that game where UCLA had let you back in the game, and you're like, we're good, we're good, we're cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I even say, like, how in the world would this even be possible? But is this team feeling themselves too much? Like, I just,
that's a great point. That's a great
just
observation.
So maddening and confusing to me.
So Nebraska has the week off. So does USC. 2 9-9 teams. Nano. USC is much different at home than they are on the road. Factor that in. And then comes Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a mess. Defensively, I don't know what their game plan was, but they got dented for 329 on the ground.
Yeah.
It seemed worse.
Who would have thought we would wake up in on November 4th of 2024, Matt Rule would be 10-11 at Nebraska, and Luke Fickell would be 12-10.
Right.
Now, Wisconsin has this week off. Then they play Oregon, who has turned into a wagon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they are on a mission. That game is in Madison, though, on the 16th of November. That's who Wisconsin plays before they come to Nebraska.
Yeah. And
they could be beat up.
It felt like Alabama and USC, like a combination of Alabama and USC, sort of broke Wisconsin. Give them credit. They came fighting back, won some games that they should win if you're year two under Luke Fickell. Was it the second half of the Penn State game that may have rebroke them based on how they looked last week against Iowa?
Yep.
I mean, so they've been broken twice now this season, in my opinion.
Just reeks of 11 a.m. BTN.
So Nebraska, I mean, Wisconsin could be 5-5.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska's playing USC. They're 4-5.
Mm-hmm.
Now Nebraska's 5-4, so they're all part of this.
Yep.
Weird year that Vanderbilt, UConn are already bowl eligible. But the thing that I'm getting from fans, and this is okay, is when will Nebraska have their South Carolina moment, their Louisville moment, their Texas Tech moment that happened over the weekend?
Too many examples of that do not involve Nebraska.
When is that going to happen? In a year in which there is kind of some parity in college football?
It's volatile, man.
When does Nebraska get the invite?
Yep.
When do they say, hey, we're over here? It's missed opportunities are going to be the Mike Babcock final book that he writes. And it's going to be not just this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because
look at the amount of times they had that last year.
Sounds like a DVD title.
Jacob Bigelow, we'll talk some hoops coming up after the top of the hour. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley. 1620 The Zone.
Bowl game blowout giveaway on 1620 The Zone. You can enter to win big this holiday season with $15,000. You can get entered now to win at 1620thezone.com. And also, while you're there, don't forget, right now.
What bowl game?
Oh, well, not the week 9 of the 25K.
You guys don't think Nebraska's going to a bowl game?
I'd say the percentages have gone down. The only reason I'd say, yeah, they possibly still could, Gary, is because college football be volatile this year. Be very, very volatile, and they're the Jekyll and Hyde team.
Nebraska will have a course correction on their mental part of how they approach USC. It'll be better than they were against UCLA. I can't guarantee the X's and O's, but that's who they are.
I would hope so.
That's who they are.
Counting them out, and they show up.
All right, let's ask our next guest. His name is Jacob Bigelow. He is everywhere. He has never sent a finder's fee my way, but that's okay because it's basketball season. He got up early. It's like he's a little kid on Christmas. He ran downstairs. He's like, oh, let me check the stockings. Yeah. Does it have back-to-back trips to the NCAA tournament for Nebraska? Is Britt Prince going to be the next Caitlin Clark? Is Michigan State with Frankie Fiddler going to cut down the nets in Tom Izzo's 30th year? It is Jacob Bigelow. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. That was a very rousing intro. I appreciate that. Thank you. But no, I'm in a pretty good mood for a Monday morning, and it's maybe in part due to college basketball, but I'm feeling pretty good.
I know you were not on the football beat this weekend. You missed quite a jovial time, though, on Saturday, I'm telling you.
That's what it seemed like. I was out of town for a wedding this weekend. I think they scheduled a pretty good day for an out-of-town wedding. So I not too many complaints from me from missing the big what Saturday afternoon and evening turned into in Lincoln. I am not too torn up about not being there.
Oh,
have you? Do you have any friends outside of Nick, myself, and Jimmy and Willie that are sports people? What are you going to all these weddings in the fall? What are we doing?
Well, I do enjoy the fact that you just said that you three and Wilson are my only four friends.
Well, I can only do the first four that came to mind.
But I do enjoy that. But no, I actually, the wedding I was at this weekend, I will say it was a pair of Northwestern alums. That was the wedding that I was at this weekend. So I figured that would be the clarifier there. But hey, Northwestern won on Saturday, so they were in a good mood with that. But just two though. Okay. Just two Saturday fall weddings. I'm done with that, and I accomplished my fall goal of making being dateless at fall weddings look good, but that's beside the point. We're on to we're Belichick boys. We're on to basketball.
Well, you couldn't. I mean, I don't imagine it's not because you have lack of options. I'm pretty sure you're shooing them away because basketball season is about to start, and you can't be bogged down with that.
Oh, this ought to be a good answer.
No, that is definitely what my mom thinks, Nick. So I'm glad that you and my mom have the same idea, the same sentiment. So I appreciate
that. Okay. Quick football question. I guess I still think Nebraska is going to get to 6. Okay. What are in your world of numbers? What is the percentage that Nebraska gets to 6? Percentage that Nebraska gets to 7? Percentage? You know what? Because we need a little optimism on this gloomy day in Omaha. The percentage that they get to 8.
I'm going to say 0 for 8. Okay. I'm going to say around 12% that they get to 7. And then for 6, I will put that at 40%.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
Pretty close. I to be at 50 or greater, even to get to 6, you're expecting a pretty solid bounce back, and these teams all provide challenges. That's the other part about this is, are you more worried? I think I know the answer to this, Jacob, but I want to let you answer it. Are you more worried about the teams that remain on Nebraska's schedule, or just now that you have seen 9 games out of this team, you're worried about this Nebraska team, and that's what's keeping you from going into
I'm
football?
worried. Yeah. I mean, you can't not be worried about the current state of this Nebraska team. I mean, you can't be. I mean, that night in September where they beat Colorado, and the more that we look back on that, you have to ask, like, just how much did they put into that game? Like, that is where I'm at right now. Like, how much did they put into the first half of that game and everything that went into it? Because we haven't seen a product on the field that even closely resembles what we saw on that night in early September at any point this season and since then. So I mean, you can't help but not be worried about the psyche of this team. I think that the issues are not just on one side of the ball. I think that the what I referred to last week as the no reasonable reason quote of the week from the offensive coordinator that we've had these last 2 weeks. It's people have been conditioned like offensive coordinator bad, defensive coordinator good. Like it has to be, both, one guy has to be the scapegoat and the other guy has to be, God's gift to the program, depending on the day. But I think there's issues all around, psyche wise, X's and O's wise. I mean, there's a lot of issues, and it's hard to not be worried.
Let's shift over to hoops. Because tonight, University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, who could someday be a Summit League team, is going to come into the state of Nebraska, and they're going to get to spend some time in Lincoln. They're going to spend some time in Omaha. They're going to eat well. They're going to make a lot of money for their athletic department. They open up tonight as a 23-point dog at PBA, where it is still odd to me to watch Nebraska play, and there is no Keisei Tominaga. But I got to watch the Fort Wayne Mad Ants now if I want to watch Keisei. Let's just fast forward. The reason why or the reason not will be what if Nebraska goes to an NCAA tournament for the second straight year or comes up short this year in an expanded Big Ten?
I think kind of I don't want to say that it's like the linchpin between going to the dance and not, but I think the outside shooting of the 2 Big Ten transfers, Connor Essegian and Gavin Griffiths, are going to be a pretty big part. And I think outside shooting in general, like, where is that going to come from? Who's going to, be? I mean, you're not going to have Keisei Tominaga, taking shots from almost half court, or step backs in the corner where he's, basically stepping back into the bench. I don't think there's anyone like that on this team. But I think when you think Fred Hoiberg basketball, you think 5 out, you think pace and space, and you think shooting the 3. And I think, who's going to be, the guy that they're drawing plays up to get them a look from 3. I think your leading candidate is Connor Essegian. We saw in the inter squad them drawing up some baseline out of bounces to get him, 3s, similar to some plays they drew up for CJ Wilcher last year. But, then we saw Gavin Griffiths have the day he had in the exhibition game. So, I mean, I think 3-point shooting in general is going to be the catalyst for, what the ceiling could be. Because, top to bottom, I think it's a veteran, old head, fundamentally sound group. They just have to, I think the 3-point shooting is kind of my biggest overarching question.
The additions in the offseason inside and with the front court, bigger in your opinion for what Nebraska is going to do defensively as opposed to offensively, especially with what you just described there?
Yeah, definitely defensively is where I'm the most intrigued by the front court. I mean, I don't think Nebraska basketball as a program has had this, front court depth, at least not that I can remember. I mean, you have a guy like Mia who I think is still an odd fit, in the Hoiberg schematic, the ideal Hoiberg schematic, offense. But defensively, I mean, there can be some mismatches. Do you just put him in drop coverage? Do you funnel things to him at the basket? Then you have guys like Morgan, who I think is going to be more the traditional physical. I mean, he's not a traditional Big Ten big man by any means, and he's definitely not a Rink Mask clone, but he's somewhere in the middle. And I think he can bring a toughness, a grit, when he's out there on the floor. I don't know about Berkey as a post player. I don't really, we've seen him rebound it well, but I mean, there are options. But I'm more intrigued, with the bigs when it comes to the defense end of the floor.
Okay, standing around talking to Fred, and you say, Fred, give me some of the key guys this year. Of course, he's going to say Bryce Williams. I think Nebraska needs Bryce Williams to play at an all Big Ten level, and I think that's a possibility. Then he says Raleigh, which I'm very intrigued by, and I liked what I saw him in the exhibition game. I think he's going to be a nice little intangible for Nebraska, and maybe by the end of the year, he'll be their second most consistent player. Then he'll say, man, you got to see the guy with the mullet who is from Hot Dish, Minnesota, Andrew Morgan. And then he drops this name in, Aaron Eulis. Is he one of the top 4 most important players for Nebraska this year?
I don't know about top 4, but I could see a world where he is. I think he's going to play. He's definitely going to have a role. I mean, that exhibition game last week was his first in-game, like real game action against an actual opponent since the 2023 NCAA tournament when he was at Iowa. So that had to be, quite the moment for him to, have the jersey on, be back out on the court. I think he's definitely important. I mean, because he, like Essegian and Griffiths, has that Big Ten experience. He, was a part of the program last year, running the scout team. Knows the standard that was in place for a team that went to the NCAA tournament. So along with Bryce Williams, Juwan Gary, Sam Hoiberg, with these these returning guys, he's one of those returners as well. Even though he didn't see the floor last year, he was a part of the program and he knows what it takes to win games in the Big Ten and the the standard that Fred Hoiberg has. So it may not be like on the stat sheet, but I think off the court and in the huddle and there's all sorts of different ways that I think he could be a really important piece for this group.
Jacob, is there, when you, all the things you've laid out here with this group and certain combinations, is there a moment that you think needs to be that benchmark moment for this team and Fred finding that combination where you can say, all right, now you're starting to see not only who the legitimate starting 5 is going to be, but this is what the rotation is going to look like. Is there a part of this schedule that you feel like that should be close to solidified?
Not particularly, but I mean, it kind of, goes from, it kind of gets turned up to 11 in game 4 when you're playing St. Mary's and Sioux Falls. You start with the, 3 bye games against, sub 300, KenPom ranked teams. And then it ramps up. You go to Sioux Falls to play St. Mary's, and then 5 days later, you're making the trip up I-80 to play Creighton. So Pat, that week is going to be, it's so weird that the Creighton game's in November. That's just, throwing my, mental calendar a loop.
It actually should be being played today or tomorrow as the season opener.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Time to get
Hey, basketball season's here. Nebraska Creighton open up the season. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that would, I don't know if you
Stop
want to ramp
playing
up a brand
300 plus KenPom teams. Let's play Nebraska Creighton to get hoops rolling in the state. And then next week, we'll play the 24-hour marathon on ESPN. If I was the czar of college basketball, first of all, I'd move the season back to Thanksgiving. But that's how I'd start the season around here. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not completely opposed, but I don't know if a brand new team still trying to mesh. I don't know if the
no excuses. Get ready. Let's go right out of the gate. You're playing a top 25 team.
It'll expose your vulnerabilities right then and there.
Hey, it's all about the process and not having things handed to you, right? Oops, wrong sport. Forgot.
All gas, no brakes. Stop being Nebraska's football offense.
Something like that.
Okay.
Like that.
So let's do a little rapid fire here of general college basketball topics. Are you prepared?
I am prepared, yes.
What's the best jersey you own?
The best jersey I own?
Yeah.
I had a run where I was buying cheap jerseys in high school and early in college. Probably a early 2000 Timberwolves Garnett jersey.
Ooh, well played.
That would be, yeah. I don't wear jerseys anymore, but I know that's for sure in a box somewhere.
Kelvin Sampson is 69 years old.
Yes.
Nice.
Thank
That
you.
was the answer.
Wow, we are as slow as Nebraska's decision making. Is Calvin Sampson, is this his best chance to win a title this year? He's a rapid fire.
It might be. Yeah, I think he's got a really good chance. I mean, they came into the Big 12 last year in year one and won the regular season after he compared the conference to a dog park, and he said they had to be a big dog and have bite. And I think they're going to be a pretty good team again. I think he's one of the best coaches in college basketball. So yes, this probably is his best chance.
Are guard depth problems in the past for number one KU?
I don't know what to think of that team. The pieces individually I really like, but them as a unit leaves a lot of questions, and then that comes along with the fact that they haven't made the second weekend as a preseason number one in many years.
That KU.
So
I was going to say they win Saturday.
Yes.
How good will Cooper Flagg be? Cade Cunningham, Chet Holmgren, R.J. Barrett, Marvin Bagley, all former number one recruits. We're all productive and very good college players. Flagg is going to be the number one pick next year. How good will he be at Duke?
I think he'll be pretty good, but I think there's a chance he's not Duke's leading scorer. I really like their team. I think there's going to be flashes from him. The biggest question with Duke, I think, is can John Shire coach? We know he can recruit, but I'm interested to see how that team comes together. I think he'll be pretty good to maybe really good, depending on the day. There will be flashes. You will get ESPN push notifications, but I don't think he's gonna I don't think he's gonna be otherworldly.
Couple more from me, and then Nick will slip one or two in.
Okay.
Will I be a better radio host and basketball coach on the air than Doug Gottlieb?
You just might be. I don't know if you have any history of credit card crime, but I think you've got a good chance of maybe being a better radio host and basketball coach. That gets kicked off tonight as well. That'll be quite the experiment going on in Green Bay this year.
Will Iowa State be playing in the Final Four?
Right now, I think they will be. I think they have the makings to be, the best team in school history. I think they have possibly the best point guard in the country in Taman Lipsey, and he's a hometown kid, which just adds to it. Milan Milicevic, I think, could make a sophomore jump. He's going to be one of their go-to guys to make shots from beyond the arc. The question for them is going to be their interior. They've got good guards, they've got good wings, but their post play is going to be what the biggest differentiator between their ceiling. But right now, I think they've got a really good chance to go deeper than any Cyclone team has before.
Most high-end talent in the Big Ten. Rutgers, number one, and no discussion?
I think so. It's tough when it's just those two guys, but it's two guys that are going to be going in the lottery. And I think that Dylan Harper has gotten a lot of acclaim because he's the legacy, following his brother, and he's got the NBA pedigree. But I think Ace Bailey could end up being a higher pick than him, maybe as high as, the number two pick, or even, in a world, maybe he gives Cooper Flagg a run for his money. Those two are going to be box office. They're going to be must watch. I don't know how Rutgers is going to end up this season because, freshmen are still freshmen, and their, supporting cast, their supporting cast and their head coach. It's a lot. I think the world of Michael, he's a great guy. But that going through the trials and tribulations of your team being, the drink being stirred by two true freshmen could be, very interesting. But I think it's kind of no discussion that those two alone are the most high-end talent.
Who has the better year, R.J. Davis or Mark Sears?
I think Mark Sears, and that's because I am all in on Alabama. I think they are going to be really, really good, really, really deep, and I think they will probably be back in the Final Four, barring something catastrophic. But that team just has so many pieces. The offense they run is fun to watch, and I think the world of NATO. So right now, I would lean toward Mark Sears.
All right, final one. What is more likely to happen? UConn three-peats or Bill Self becomes the first active coach to win 3 national titles?
Give me the UConn three-peat. I think that is more likely, and that has to do with I think I know more about what UConn could be at the end of the year than I know about what Kansas could be at the end of the year, and that has to do with liking a lot of those pieces individually, but wondering what it's going to look like as a team. And I think the UConn, what the ideal how it looks late season is going to look. So I think give me the UConn three-peat is more likely.
Win total for Nebraska. Win total in the conference.
11-9 in the league.
Okay.
And then I think that would be 20. Give me 20 and 20, and I'm trying to do math. Math is hard because how many non-cons do they have?
I think they have 11.
I think they have 11. So that would be 20 and math. I said 11, right?
Yeah, so you have to have
19, and I think that's 19 and 19 and 12. Sorry,
yes.
19 and 12.
Okay, we're on the same page. Enjoy the basketball season. I know you're everywhere with the content, and be nice to the boys in Lincoln. They just want to be like us.
I
think
I can be nice. Yeah, I can be nice. I'm a nice person. I have nothing but love in my heart to give. I'm a nice person. I'll be nice.
We know.
It sounded like a little like you were putting yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not.
Hey,
it all comes down to perception.
That's okay. I've been used before.
No, you and me both, brother. Have a good
sang a song about it.
Oh, and a
All
good rest of the week.
All right, love you long time. You didn't know how to handle that last one. Got a little emotional there. We're right on. 19 and 12, 11 and 10. I think Nebraska goes 8 and 3 in the non-con, and Nebraska will need to win a couple of games in the conference tournament to get back into the NCAA tournament. Thank you.
I was going to ask the question: more likely to happen, all three Division I programs get in the NCAA tournament, or Creighton makes the Final Four? What is more likely?
What odds would you get on that?
To get all three in, I bet you would be a very rich man if you put it down on all three making it in.
Okay, let's do this real. Well, no, you know what? Save this. No, let's do this. We'll finish up
with
basketball
here.
How many women's of the three Division I teams? How many women's teams make the NCAA tournament? Now, this is the easy one.
I think 2.
Okay.
2.
One is playing Omaha today. The other is going to be really friggin' good.
The other one is Creighton.
Yeah.
How many men's teams in the state of Nebraska, Division I men's teams, make the NCAA tournament this year, and how far do they go?
Oh, okay. I'm still on. I think Nebraska gets in, so I'm going to go 2. They are. I mean, it's got to happen. I'll still say they're one and done. Creighton gets to the Sweet 16.
Okay.
Noah, Nebraska, Creighton to the Sweet 16. Good trend higher.
So I have to
let's get you to the tournament.
I have to put Omaha on the side because you just got to get hot in Sioux Falls. But
yeah,
Omaha is better after seeing them for a while, and they play tonight. They're better than 8th in the Summit League.
Markel's a dude.
I think they will be 3rd in the Summit League, and they will be competing for the title late in the year.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
All right. Because I don't know if you guys know this or not. Well, you do. After tonight, Omaha goes on the road for the next 7 games.
A lot of hotels. A lot of good coffee, hopefully.
Well, you'll really find out about your
Minneapolis,
team then.
Las Vegas,
You
Orlando.
get all the time zones, don't you?
86
playing
degree
all 4
hotel
time
room.
zones in the non-con.
That's good.
So I think Creighton, the Big East will be tougher this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could be, but the Big East also has to get more than 3 teams in the tournament. I don't care if UConn's going to win their 3rd straight title. They got to get more teams than 3. Hopefully, they ruffled some feathers in the offseason, but I think this is a year where the Big East is deep. That you may not have as, like, if you finish 2nd or 3rd in the Big East this year, that's a hell of an accomplishment. But I'm vibing with you about Creighton making it to the Sweet 16. I don't think Nebraska makes the NCAA tournament this year.
You don't? Okay.
They're going to play a different style. They got a little intriguing pieces. It's not that I don't believe.
Yeah.
I just, last year they got on a heater. They played really well.
It'd have to be better than that 19 Jacob's saying.
Yeah. If Bryce Williams plays at an all Big Ten level, which I truly believe he can, then their trajectory changes a little bit. But they'll need to at least get to 19, and they got to be 10-10, 11-9 in the Big Ten to be in the mix.
Not one and done in the tournament.
Well, remember, you added 4 teams who are all like NCAA type teams.
Yeah.
So it's going to make it tougher.
Oregon's up there, especially UCLA, what they've done. Jimmy's Kansas team, I'm intrigued because of that addition of Zeke Mayo, but also AJ Storr, who, as you know this, Jimmy, he's getting the Bill Self treatment. Basically, he's being challenged by Bill Self.
Oh.
Because it means
gotta stop being soft.
He thinks AJ Storr is very, very good.
Well, they got to be better offensively. They also have to stay healthy.
Yep.
Ryan Kalkbrenner will be the better big man on the floor when KU comes here on the 4th of
Against
December.
Hunter?
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ryan Kalkbrenner also, if you didn't know it already, will solidify that he is the second best player ever to play at Creighton. He doesn't need a Corver NBA career. He'll be the second best player ever to play at Creighton behind Doug McDermott.
And the banners, or the jerseys already being assembled for it.
Yep. Actually, they're going to play the final game is senior night. They're going to take it off him. They're going to put it in the rafters.
And he'll do color with Bishop.
This tiny little jersey out there.
Going to be very awkward because people will wonder why Kalkbrenner is giving his senior speech shirtless. Did he have that great of a time at Creighton?
Especially Kalkbrenner.
Good Lord, get him some sun, too.
All right, back into some football because that's what y'all want. You're blowing up our Twitter machine and also our email, and we'll run through some of those here as we wind down on a Monday. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
This week's Zone Deal is Ted Wally's Ultra Premium Ice Cream. Ted Wally's located in the Old Market and in Benson. Ted Wally's Ultra Premium Ice Cream is made from scratch with all natural ingredients, no additives or artificial flavor. All ice cream is slow churned the old-fashioned way using rock salt and ice with low airflow for a homemade taste and texture that is hard to find and so delicious. This sweet deal is $50 voucher to Ted Wally's for only $25. You'll receive 5 $10 vouchers at half off on sale this Friday, November 8th at 9 a.m. at 1620thezone.com.
You say rock salt?
I did.
Too early for that. Lines of Doom.
No, you didn't use rock salt when you were making homemade ice cream? Isn't that what they call it? They just in there?
My grandma actually used to make homemade ice cream. They had the ice cream maker.
The
it was
churner?
cool. Yeah, the churner. Yes. Yeah, the crank. Yeah, you crank the thing.
Yeah.
It was really good, though. It was very, very good.
We have Monday Night Football tonight. Tampa Bay is in Kansas City to take on the new Patriots.
You got to lay it to play it.
8-0.
Go Chiefs.
They're 4-2-1 against the spread.
Expecting rain there. Possibility of maybe some lightning even.
So, but everybody's good with the Chiefs are the new Patriots, right?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Legendary coach, strong front office stability, team-friendly contracts, consistent system year after year. Patriots had
notable tight end and a rock star quarterback.
Patriots had 3 Super Bowls in their first 4 years. Mm-hmm. Kansas City has 3 and 5, potential for more. Mm-hmm. I think it's even more impressive what the Chiefs are doing because the NFL has changed dramatically. Salary cap tighter, movement greater.
Cowboys still
competition is fiercer than ever. I think
is.
America is ready for a Kansas City-Detroit Super Bowl.
You're the target. I am. I would love to see it. I love Detroit and what they did in Green Bay yesterday too.
So it will happen. It will happen, you see, in New Orleans. If that's the case. Now Detroit looks really, really good.
Yeah, New Orleans
Dennis
has
Allen
no
longer
coach
coaches.
now.
Yeah, Dennis Allen, not a surprise, has been fired as the head coach. The Saints probably should have never been hired.
Mm-hmm.
But can I sully the waters with y'all right now about something with
Ben
the Saints?
Johnson in New Orleans?
Jim Mora Jr. to the Saints?
He'll be the popular guy.
Yeah.
Man,
the Bears want Ben Johnson.
When the Lions are running the football like they were yesterday against the Packers, man, Ben Johnson looks great.
Yep.
But could I maybe throw something into the waters of the offseason around here?
Okay.
You know who probably will be a free agent? Thank you, Buckeye Ross, for bringing this up. Keith Williams. So Nebraska's former wide receiver coach who still kind of comes back to the area.
Mm-hmm.
Puts on camps. He was in Lincoln middle of the summer during an NFL break to see friends.
Mm-hmm.
Keith Williams probably will be out of a job with the Saints at the end of the year.
Yep.
Does he want to come back to college? Or, he is, since he left Nebraska, he has stayed in the NFL. He was on the Ravens staff for a while, and now this is his first year as the wide receiver coach with the Saints. Just throwing that out there for people to discuss when you're around the water cooler.
I see what you're doing.
Yeah. Nebraska basketball. Zach says, I wasn't a fan of Nebraska ball's starting lineup in the exhibition. I'd rather see Raleigh, Bryce, Juwan, Berke, Braxton. I don't know you can have Braxton and Berke on the floor together.
Zach really wanted to see Rink Mast in there. He was devastated that Rink Mast is not available right now.
I don't think it'll take long before people go, man, it'd be nice to have a rink this year.
I know.
Ulysses Segan, Griffiths, Morgan, Hoiberg off the bench. Segan and Griffiths would be a shooting spark off the bench, while the starting lineup would have potential to set the tone offensively and defensively with all the positional length and athleticism. They're going to be an interesting team to begin the year because they're going to have to work out some rotations. I like the pieces. It's just how quickly Fred can put them all together. I think they're a likable team. I'm telling you, man, I bought all the stock in Bryce Williams. I think Bryce Williams will have a monster season for Nebraska. I mean, he has to, but I think he'll have a better season than he had last year because he's the number one show.
Yeah.
There's no Rink or Casey to take any of the attention off of him. So he'll need a running mate, but I think he will be able to handle it.
He showed that at the end of last year. You'd see it. Remember going all the way back to that Minnesota game on the road, he was outstanding in the first half. And he had moments like that where he'd be good one half and then the second half he'd be non-existent. But yeah, there are other elements at play there. He finishes the season as the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with that confidence going into and now understanding that the ball is going through him, he's going to make plays. Even in the exhibition and what we've heard too in a lot of the practices that people have seen, he's acting as such too. So I'm excited to see now as he is the dude, because remember, he was brought over from Charlotte to be that guy.
Yep.
And so this is that year. You guys know I'm a huge Connor Essegian fan. I'm not necessarily against what Zach brought up there of Essegian coming off the bench, though. And again, this is where these next couple of weeks, there's probably going to be a little bit of tinkering with that. If you can get Gavin Griffiths, if he's also going to be a good shooter off the bench, okay, that's fine. Connor Essegian you can have in the starting lineup. But if you're lacking a little bit of that off the bench, and you do have some of your other guys in the backcourt, especially if Williams is having the type of start to the season, especially on the perimeter, that I think we can have, I think Essegian off the bench would be a nice little ace in the hole coming off the bench. But are you going with Burke inside? Are you starting Burke then?
So they'll start 4 seniors and a junior. The only junior will be a Essegian starting tonight. Couple emails here. This is from Randy. He says, Gary, a couple things. They said Dylan is checking the play at the line of scrimmage on most plays. It looks like the defenses are really confident they know exactly what's coming and the results look like. When you are predictable, you got film, you got whiteboards, you got talent. Yes. And watching the place-kicking teams warm up at halftime, UCLA had their center, holder, and kicker practice from the 15, 25, 35, 25, and 50. Nebraska had those T holders and were working on their own. So the missed extra point looked like a double clutch on the hold.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they showed that in the replay too.
Of course.
Very obvious.
Of course, Nebraska finally scores and they miss the extra point.
And you know what? I think I said the exact same thing. Of course.
Randy finishes with, lastly, who was the last Nebraska quarterback that was better when they left than when they arrived at Nebraska? Joe Gann, Zach Taylor?
Yes, both of those guys, yes. Yeah, wouldn't say that about Adrian. Wouldn't say that about Taylor. Yeah.
Gans is probably,
Tannerly?
I would put Gans above Zach Taylor. I think Zach Taylor was really good when he got here.
Too.
But Joe Gans is probably the epitome of development to where he started to where he ended.
Yeah.
Still early with Dylan, but this leads me into another email.
I mean,
here.
Luke McCaffrey is in the NFL. He's playing wide receiver, but still.
Someone asked earlier if Rule knows what he's going to do with the offense. Of course he does. If he's any type of coach at all, he's been on the phone with agents trying to get a new guy lined up. With the help of the Raiolas, you can bet your ass. You cannot wait and screw around with this in this day and age. I'm sure he's probably already told Satterfield to start looking for work because that's common courtesy in the profession. Something I mentioned earlier. There is professional courtesy. Yeah. He's a friend. Say, hey, you got 3 more games, and then we've got to part ways, and we'll make it very easy on you. It'd be a lot easier if you had a job and you say, that's where I want to go. I think they've already made a decision.
I would wholeheartedly agree.
Now, people are like, hey, you media, you suck. Ask some hard questions. I'm telling you, just looking at Rule in a year and a half and our relationship with him, it's all about who asked the question. The Bulldog will be back sitting in the second row today. When Sam asks these kind of questions, and Sam has started to go there, Rule will be more likely to answer them. So it all depends on who asked the questions. But I want the question asked today, and I've already slid this to a media member who may ask it because they ask a handful of questions. They said they're working on something else. They'll try and sneak it in. So I snuck them a Benjamin. No, I'm just kidding. What actually are you trying to do on offense?
Yeah.
That's just a simple question that then could lead to a bigger discussion. But for people that are wondering about the media, we don't ask hard questions.
Did you read Sam's article yesterday?
It's about who asked the question. Yep. Sam's the guy.
Yep.
Like, Rule will mess with Sipple if Sipple asks a question like that. But if Sam, because Sam will attack. Not mean.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, like a pit bull always, when it attacks,
like a professional.
When they go after their food, doesn't mean they're mean. They're just hungry. Sam's hungry for questions. I'm not sure that that's going to happen, but Rule speaks at 11:30 today.
I would agree that it actually could, and I almost bet it does come from Sam, something along the lines of the question that you want, because of what he laid out in his article yesterday and those numbers that are sobering. Those offensive numbers, especially in the Big Ten, are sobering big time. 16 points a game. Yeah. We were talking about, hey, can you get to that mythical 31 or 28?
Nebraska's offense is a punchline. Okay. Brian Ferentz West is coordinating Nebraska's offense. And I might be sarcastic and snarky and being a jerk here, but we made fun of Brian Ferentz.
Yeah.
Nebraska has Brian Ferentz working for them, but he goes by the name of Marcus Satterfield. Fix the GD offense, okay? Because it's a mess and it's going to cost you. That I gotta wonder, Jesus, Ja'Cory Barney, how many people are you going to have in his ear in the offseason?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're like, are you wasting away in that offense right now?
And, dude, him and Ty Robinson right now are the two best players in this program.
I agree.
Couple of tweets here from Senator John Thune sucks nuts.
Hey, it's about time.
It never gets old.
It's been a while.
That John Thune has sucked nuts?
No, since we've got a Senator John Thune sucks nuts tweet in a while.
Hey, man. He's the Senate minority whip, but he also tweets at the show. It's a hell of an accomplishment. When we go for that Marconi, that's what we're going to say.
Yep.
Guy that has a lot of stuff going on right now.
It takes time.
Likes to listen to a random sports talk show in Omaha.
Yep.
Says, me and my son and my two bro-in-laws went to the game. Cost me $1,000 for the entire trip. We won't be back until there's a serious effort and mentality to win games we're supposed to win. That's a good-looking picture. Thank you, John. That's me stacked with Runza. It was absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so apathy is the death knell. Saturday started a lot of that sentiment. So here is Eric, and I know Eric. This is a long one, so bear with me. I've been watching this program my whole life. I'm 46. Only missed a handful of games between 86 and 21. I used to think everything that ails Nebraska was coach-driven, but after seeing multiple staffs come through here and meeting the same fate, I'm convinced it's something much larger. Okay, now I'm reading this, so this is long. But Eric's very passionate. Whether he's right or not, you can choose. The politics between the university system, big money donors, and athletic departments seem to be getting more and more muddy with the passing of each year. There's obviously not much the fan base can do about that. The big one for me, though, and this is just my opinion, is that members of our football program just seem too comfortable. They are the only show in town. They get treated like rock stars, warranted or not. They literally have all the resources in the world. Yet when it comes right down to it on Saturdays, it feels like they are either A, not being used to their fullest, or B, taking advantage of with no return by the athletes. When teams with much less come in our home and handle us, that makes me think, what are we even doing here? Nebraska feels like a hollow program. We check all the boxes, but there is no substance. Facilities, social media, support staff, they are all A+. What about the actual product, though? Yeah. It's suffered for years, and there's hard statistical analysis to back that up. In my opinion, the players have it too easy. They have everything. That's where it becomes cloudy for me. Is it the staff or the player? Accountability across the board is lacking. You can't convince me otherwise. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Thanks.
Yeah, actually, Eric, I think the part he brings up with you've got everything on the surface that's working for you, but very little substance. It's games like that against UCLA that he's spot on. It's where you have so many different things working for you with a full house of fans that are here to watch you get that 6-win, break a bowl drought, all of the different things of the good vibes that came from Ohio State, that when you expect the team to show up and put on the performance that you've paid money to watch and they don't do it, where's the substance to it? Absolutely. I think that I like what he said there with the zero substance, because other than, and this is the one time they did deliver. This is the one time in a handful of years that I can remember Nebraska delivering where everything built up to a fever pitch and they actually came out accordingly was Colorado. You got the Colorado game. But now hasn't that since been a one-off as far as them matching the energy in the moment of how important that game was? Now, look, if they lose that game and then go on and win a bunch of other games, it's a distant memory, but that thing had been built up, by the end of last season. And they matched it. Good on them. But have they done that multiple times? And this goes even back before Matt Rule got here. So again, I go back to what Eric brings up about the substance. There are so many incredible things in that athletic department and that football program on the surface, but the substance, when it comes down to matching the moment, it has escaped them far too often.
This is what happens after Saturday, and people are wondering what that Wisconsin game going to look like in terms of people in the seats. I think
next Saturday I have a lot to do with that.
The fans are. That's just be very happy that you have a passionate fan base, and I think there are more in the program than not that understand and respect and realize they got it better here than other places about the people that support this program, and they don't take it for granted.
Mm-hmm.
So there are many, many more people than don't. But Nebraska's a very casual football program in a world where you need to be on tilt 24/7, 365 because the world is changing.
Yep.
It's about wins. It's about wins and moving forward, because at some point you don't move forward again, and then you know what happens? You got to start over again. I don't think we're ready for that, and it's not going to happen.
No.
But that tree,
not there yet.
That tree gotta stay upright for at least 3 years, and then see where it goes after it makes it through the summers and the winters of 3 years of being a tree in Nebraska.
The inconsistencies in weather.
Then, damn, something comes through and a storm takes it down. I lose my power for 4 days. It's deep. It's mornings with Sharp and Handley at 1620 The Zone. All right, to wrap up a good Monday. Thanks for the conversation, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed it. Enjoyed the guests. Yeah,
record.
That's a good community in the stream.
Met up with one of them on Friday. Shout out Pyro Vito Fireworks. Big fans of the show. And
nice.
You, Mr. Sharp.
Now, did he come up to you?
He reached out during the week, and so we got together at a Lincoln Drinkery and contributed to the economy there. Had some fellowship and enjoyed some great conversation, football, and he was so excited to watch a Husker win on Saturday, and, well, he had a good trip at least.
This is a question from Mike into the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally. When was the last season when Nebraska has not had a 100-yard rusher in a game?
It's a Callahan joke in there somewhere, but
no, I mean, Divine Ezigbo was a regular.
So could it happen this year? So Dowdell, 60? What was he? 17 for 61.
Yeah,
that was the rushing totals.
Well, then last year, Emmett didn't he go 80?
He had 84 against Maryland.
Yeah,
but in the Louisiana Tech game, you had two guys went over 100.
Yep.
Yeah. Well. What would be the chances of this happening?
I don't see it happen.
Nebraska goes the entire year on offense without having a 100-yard rusher or throwing for 300 yards.
What's more likely?
I mean, we're talking about an offense that if UCLA does not give them 3 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, Nebraska might have got shut out.
Yeah.
They might have got shut out.
27-6 at best.
That's a defense that gave up 32 to Rutgers last time out.
This sounds crazy, but I actually would say the more likely scenario is a 100-yard rusher, given the defenses that Nebraska has in front of them.
So with unsportsmanlike penalties Saturday, 29 plays, 203 yards, 3 touchdowns on drives that had an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Drives that did not, 32 plays, 109 yards. John writes in, hello, John. It's a talent issue. We don't have any for the league. Dylan is more like a 3-star. Might be a reason he left Georgia early. Coaches and players make mistakes. Refs make mistakes. Just ask Higgins. Scouts make mistakes too. Love the show. That's JR. They are friends, so I do know that.
Okay.
Why does Higgins got to?
You know what? Everything sucks.
Basketball day.
Everything sucks. Just go into a dark place. GBR.
Sounds like something I would write.
What was it in the second half? 57 plays that Nebraska ran.
And Nebraska, actually, if you look if you look at the box score from this game, you're like, I wonder who won this game.
Yeah. A lot of it doesn't make sense.
Well, so there's a 40-minute box score, and then there's the last 20-minute box score to look at. Doug's got 10 bullet points.
Can you give us the most important ones?
Let's see. One caller this morning said Dannon owes us a refund. Somebody owes us one, but it's not Dannon because he didn't hire Rule. Rule is paid too much to put this pile of crap. It is days like Saturday where Nebraska does so many things poorly that you start to go, man, is this going to be the first time I doubt Matt Rule if you have not? But it also ended. Yeah. There's no more talking about the process. It's now about what have you done on the field. Okay? It took 21 games to get there. Maybe for most it was sooner, but you can't have Ohio State and then UCLA. Who would have thought that Nebraska's, of that 3-game stretch in which Nebraska's gone 0-3, their most competitive would be Ohio State.
Of course.
Yeah. You're saying, hey, they're going to go 0-3, but they will have one game that they actually really play and show up for. Who do you think it's going to be? Everybody would have taken UCLA.
World famous Nebraska Cornhusker.
Something that never. I don't know where that started.
I was reading something earlier about
that. Did you see Ohio State's going to be on Big Nude for the 3rd straight week?
Yeah.
They have their own network.
Exciting. Hey, that helped them out.
World famous.
World.
Something that never gets mentioned, but have you noticed at times Nebraska's tries to go up tempo, but since they sub on every play on offense, the ref stops them from running the play immediately as the other team is allowed to sub as well. This defeats the purpose of going tempo. You go tempo when you have a favorable matchup and not allow the other team to sub unless they call a timeout. This goes to the incompetency of the OC.
This goes to something you brought up earlier in the show, too, about the different groupings, the amount. It's like a line change almost every other play, and we didn't see that at the beginning. KG has a really good one here, too. Said, I get over Huskers losing quickly. It's sad to say, kind of expected. So my biggest thing is all coach speak. I hear week after week after year. It's always the same. I get tired of getting all of the verbiage and understand why they do it. It just feels my football intelligence gets insulted. I have no faith this team wins one more game. That's from KG. He said, don't need therapy after a Husker loss, just need answers. Very well said, Kevin.
And Ken says going forward, the opposing team's strategy will be to score the first 2 possessions because they know Nebraska isn't capable or willing of coming back from being behind.
So that's a good point. That is a little bit. I started to think about this yesterday. You know, we love the sport. We love the fact that we play 60 minutes of football, and it's a sport that things changed. It's about momentum. It's about adjustments. It's about the pure beauty of dudes making plays. By the way, Garber's made easy throws, or I don't want to say easy throws. He made his ball placement was really good, but kudos to the UCLA wide receivers, man. They've made some big catches.
Yep.
Nebraska had a chance in that second half. There were a couple of balls that have to be caught.
Yep.
I mean, Dillon rifled one across the middle. I think it was Banks diving. The ball's got to be caught.
Yep.
The ball's got to be caught. But, you know, the whole part of, man, we love the sport of football because there's so many things that go into it over 60 minutes. Am I crazy to think that this team, I can tell you exactly how the game is going to go after the first couple of possessions on offense and defense?
Yeah, 100% with you. You get
That's alarming, too.
You give up just points. Again, it wasn't a touchdown, 14 play, a field goal drive, and then what does the offense do? Subsequently come out 3 and out. Right there, you're thinking, don't love this. And again, doesn't matter what we're thinking. What's the team thinking?
So is Nebraska the front runner of 2024?
Yeah. I mean, here's the other part. Okay. Another example of this against Ohio State. Offense gets off to a disastrous start. Special teams, you have that gaff. Offense looks ridiculous. What did the defense do? Stuff them on 4th down. Get the ball back, set a tone.
And if they didn't, if Ohio State would have scored on the opening drive, that game would have had Indiana tones.
Yep.
But Nebraska defensively made a stop.
They created a spark. They set a tone.
Yeah. Like, look at the games this year. Nebraska is so good at the front end of first and second quarters that really the game flow doesn't change much in the fourth quarter. It kind of has the same vibe as the first 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know that I've ever seen a Nebraska team that gives off those vibes more often than not.
Right. And is it as simple as?
I think it's up here of whether good or bad.
Yeah.
Unless you are front running and you are controlling the game tempo and flow, it's like, here we go again.
I'll use a golf analogy.
How are we going to get out of this or get into this?
Yeah. I'll use as simple as this, a golf analogy. When you get on that first tee box and you hit it right on the club face and it is a freaking hammer and you're thinking, all right, could be one of those days. Now, as I know, I can get away from you quickly. But if you shank the first one or you hook it or you slice it, you're like, God dang. And then all of a sudden it snowballs. I mean, it rolls. It's kind of similar to this team. If they can have whatever that tone's going to be between the offense and the defense, if the offense has a bad one, but the defense saves them, gets the ball back, you're thinking, okay, cool. Or offense drives down, gets you some points. Defense is all of a sudden feeling it as well. You set that tone. But defense allows the offense to score points, and then the offense has zero pushback, zero response. I think that sideline starts getting a little bit of, well, this isn't ideal.
Well, because to add to what you just said, and I love that, is Nebraska blitzed the hell out of UCLA to begin the game.
Yep.
Almost thinking, like, let's throw a knockout punch. Let's get a pick six. Let's get a turnover. Let's get a short field. Let's go up 7-0. Boom, we're good. And you know what? In a bring your own energy game, we're up 7-0, and let's dance. Let's go. Let's go. When does Herbie come on the field with the T-shirts? Come on, Killigans. That's how I thought they looked at this game is let's get them early, and then boom, we will play NFL style. Instead of pulling away, we will keep a comfortable distance.
Yeah. Keep it at arm's length.
Yeah. And because look at this. This is UCLA had 8 minutes of time to begin the game. Was it 13 plays?
I thought 14.
14.
13, 14 plays. 14. Let's go with 14.
Too many.
They only scored a field goal.
Yeah.
But it felt like they had just scored 10.
It did.
That's
did.
wrong. That's wrong.
Well,
And
then it's
that's-
on the offense to go
that's-
3 and out.
That's the roller coaster of where the defense kind of is.
Yep.
And you're like, oh. And then the offense isn't picking up the defense. So the defense, I think, feels like they got to pick up the whole program.
Yep.
Well,
and then
not a great
round
spot
and
to be
round
in.
we go.
Not a great job, Bob.
Not great, Bob.
Nope. Okay. Hopefully a little therapy. Let's do some basketball.
Got hoops to talk about.
Yeah, have a good call tonight.
And college football playoff reveal.
8-0 NFL team.
Tomorrow.
And how many calls you're going to get from unknown numbers in the next 24 hours?
Final push.
Crab
All right.
Orchard. Looking for you.
Everybody have a great day. Stick around, 1620. We'll all have different opinions on what we saw on Saturday and what has to happen moving forward. Matt Rule speaks at 11:30. We speak again tomorrow at 6. That's 20 hours away. For Jimmy, for Nick, I'm Gary. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.